Good evening and welcome to the March 27th, 2018 Budget and Finance Committee meeting. This is a workshop joint with the Select Board, and I have two adjustments to the agenda I would like to add. One is, when I wrote the agenda, I forgot to put in CIP, so if we could make an entry W for CIP review. And the second adjustment I would like to make is, I would like to move the Select Board comments up to now, because there's an issue that I think we need to discuss. So, if that's okay with everybody, we will go forward with the Select Board comment.
I want to update everybody on something that's going on. As you guys know, Wyndham Town Office or the Town of Wyndham and the RSU are trying to come together, or they voted to do a facilities maintenance garage. And Raymond is part of this RSU. We have no vote at all on that garage, but they're expecting us to pay for part of that garage. And they're still in the works on the agreements and stuff like that. But what the Select Board here has done, we all are aware of it. We have asked for information, which we received from the Town of Wyndham and the RSU on documents as to how they came up with this agreement. Have they checked into anything cheaper? Where they're coming up with this. And at one of the public meetings, Marshall and Don Willard were at, because I watched it on TV, and the question was raised, have you looked at any other facility at all? And they said, no, why would they? It's an instant fix with the Town of Wyndham. But when we've got to pay almost like $1.2 million for a facility that we're not going to use, I have a problem with that. We also have a cost-sharing agreement with the Town of Wyndham. And when that went into place, it was March 25th, 2015, that the RSU voted on. And the comment, or the basis of that whole thing was any new construction would be borne by that town. So that's not happening right now. So what we tried to do is we got the information. We asked for a meeting, an informal, off-the-record meeting with just a couple people from the Town of Wyndham, the RSU, and Raymond. And the school board members have said pretty much no. They don't want to talk to us. Their comment was the RSU doesn't see a need, no purpose for this meeting. They don't see a problem with the current arrangement. So here we are, sitting here scrutinizing a very small portion of what our town bill is, and we have a really big school budget. So that's why we're bringing you guys up on to date, because I think something needs to change. And Joe and Rolf can put in any other 2 cents they want to.
I guess the only comment I would add at this point would be that it's very important for the people in town to make themselves aware of what's in the school budget and how that's going through, and to attend the review meetings when that comes up, and because it really is the only time that you get your input, other than when we have the referendum vote, which is pretty late in the game to do things. So it's important that when you look at your tax bills that just came out, look at the percentage of what you're paying in taxes going to school versus what's going to the going to the town and going to the county, and you'll see where it's going. And that's just on an upward trend that we have no control over.
And I guess another thing too, just full disclosure on this one, is we asked them to come to a select board meeting, and they were giving us updates. And on those updates, we didn't bring it up. Diana Freusland had brought it up. And we questioned. She opened the door to ask questions, on this meeting, and we asked. And they didn't have any information to give us. They said that they could have brought a committee, that they were having an open meeting the next night for all kinds of questions and answers, which was a little late in the game. And in fact, they were a little upset because we felt they felt that we were questioning too hard on that. But as Raymond representatives, we also told them that they need to have answers to the town of Raymond when you've got that big of a budget that we are asked to pay for and open our checkbook up on and not have a vote or a say.
I wonder if I could take a minute and just put some numbers on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the building costed out at a little bit better than $9 million. And the town of Raymond is being asked through the RSU to pay 25% of that?
The
Under-
RSU is
under-
25,
RSU
and
is
then we would
25,
pay
we're
36% of that.
So the net cost of the town of Raymond would be about 9% of $9 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the building they're putting up costs out at about $305 a square foot, which is part of our problem, that we think that the school committee could have done a lot better than $300 a square foot. This is a class 4 nuclear bomb prepared facility in Wyndham that far exceeds any requirement that a school would have for basic bus maintenance. And my issue with it is I don't think the school board did their due diligence to find out if there were competitive costs.
They didn't. They said that at that public
Right.
meeting.
Sandy Prince
Yeah.
admitted that to us, that he
Yeah.
did not do, or they did not do any competitive marketing. Enterprise Drive, for example, has buildings that are heated and are fully capable of running bus maintenance and whatever maintenance at $80 a square foot. So I think the school board, my opinion is the school board has not been diligent in their process here and are subject to exposure for that. So,
Well, and no matter if we're on a budget finance either and a select board, we're also citizens. And it's also our
Right.
taxpayers' dollars. So they owe us answers. I really feel that. And that's why we tried to meet off the record. So it wasn't felt like there was any kind of attack or anything like that or whatever. But we tried to get as much information as we can, you know, through the town and through the school. And now that we can't get that meeting right now, we felt, okay, it's time to pull you guys in on this too, because you're budget finance and you guys are looking at this budget. And this is something big that's gonna hit us, you know? And here we're trying to get our debt costs, see what else we can stick in, and school just keeps piling it on top. You know, so
You can ask Teresa.
I went to one of the reveal meetings in Wyndham, and when asked why this size of building, the reasoning was so whenever we have a storm, we can park all our public
Yes.
works vehicles in there.
yes.
There's nothing to do with schools, parking school buses in there, and there may be a wash bay and a mechanics bay. But that's it, right?
Well, and let me give you a little history just from watching the meeting on that. The way that they have it set up right now is they want to be able to have their vehicles warm, get them ready to go. Rolf brought this point up, which is really good. We literally have a bay and a half in this new garage, and then some lockers,
Right.
and some office space. That's it. And the town either turned it down twice or 3 times already. So they decided to bring the school in. And then they started to make it more, in my view, a school issue, because what they were selling, and it's in the letters that they said, is, let's say, okay, you know, if you get the buses that are washed, then you don't have to go through buses as much. You save $90,000 on a bus. $90,000 is pennies on that budget. The other thing is, they said it's safer for the school bus drivers because they are parking behind their buses, and what was happening is there was a lot of accidents that were happening with the school bus drivers. They were falling and getting hurt in the parking lot. I think that would be a big embarrassment, because if you're in the public works parking lot and you can't sand it,
Should be the best one.
yes. So they were using that it's safer for them too. So you're right. I mean, this whole thing wasn't about the kids, but I think they pulled on that kid factor to help sell that. But now as things are starting to come out, a lot of people in Wyndham are responding to me to say, we didn't know that you guys didn't have a vote in this. They wouldn't have voted for it.
Yeah, we have no say.
No, exactly. So we have it. So to me, and you know me and my mouth, we're an open checkbook right now. And I got a problem with that. So I thought that we should, and I asked Marshall if I could have that few minutes to give you guys, you know, the update on that, and we were trying to get some kind of open communication going with them, and, yeah.
It's my understanding that the town of Wyndham has not finally approved this building, the council.
No, at the town council meeting, just last Wednesday, I believe it was, Tony Plant said that they are looking to do some kind of agreement by May. But Tony Plant also told me on the phone that they were trying to go out to bond, I think in May also. So, yeah, it's still in the works, still in the making. So as Rolf says, I think that we need to start watching, questioning, send letters, anything at this point.
Is litigation appropriate
Don't
based on due diligence, lack of due diligence and fiduciary responsibilities?
Don't know yet.
and
We're
so
not there
forth?
yet. Yeah.
But we are looking at that.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
I didn't quite understand, Teresa, with the 25 March 15 agreement, you said, okay, if there's any new construction, it would fall to the town. Is that between, who's the parties of that agreement? Wyndham and Raymond?
The RSU, yes. I don't know if you were around. No.
Probably not.
You weren't around for that.
That's a great excuse, by the way.
We're the, sorry, no.
I use it a lot.
I'm sorry. We're an RSU, and we have a middle school, we have an elementary school. What
Right.
Wyndham would like to do on their RSU part of it is build a new middle school.
Yeah.
And we said, wait a second, we have two schools up here that are not filled, that are only partially used. We're all part of the same thing. Bust them up here, use this. And it was some heated debates about, no, we're not going to cross the line. You're Raymond. We had an open meeting at at Raymond Elementary School about why it's not good. We didn't, but they did. And so we petitioned to RSU withdraw based on they're going to move forward with a new building. We're going to withdraw from the RSU. So we started that whole process. We were able to come to an agreement, and we got a new cost sharing. And we also said one of the things in that new cost sharing is we were paying 45%, and Wyndham was paying 55% on the whole school budgets. And we asked for that to be changed because we only have so many kids in the school.
Right, yeah.
So we got that drop, took over 3 years, and this is the third year, 2018, that we're down to 36%, and they're at
64.
Thanks, give me the math. 64. And so it's more fair on our side on that one. So we're trying to, but then what we started talking about is they were talking about, okay, you know, if they build a new school in there, we don't want to pay for it. You want to do it, you pay for it. But we did agree to is if we sent a student down there from Raymond, we would pay the tuition for that. So then we started talking about how were we going to split up capital costs, major costs. And what do you consider a major cost? Capital costs. You got boilers, you got roofs, you know, you have all of that. It could be $1 million to do, you know, a new roof or whatever. So it ended up coming out that any new footprint would be borne by the town that took it out. So say if they have a new middle school, they have their middle school down there, and we help pay for that and the operation and the repairs and stuff. But if they built another wing on that,
It's all theirs.
that's theirs.
So I'm confused then. So why is this maintenance facility not theirs?
There you go.
Joe had,
And, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
simple.
Good
no,
deducting.
Just
no.
tell them that we're not going to pay. We're not a party of that agreement.
So, and one of the things that the RSU here said when they were talking to us said that it's a garage. I mean, it's our bus garage. But yes, Joe mentioned we also have a bus garage down here that we owe no money on it. You are more than welcome to use it. We have used it as a bus garage. And at that meeting, Marshall, I think you asked the question. Mike Kelly says, why would we ever do that? You know, to bring buses up here to have them fixed. You know, but we have to stay down, you know, we have to take the buses down there and stuff like that. And that's what we're asking. We're saying, wait a second, we have an agreement with you guys.
Yeah.
So that's why we're questioning. So we're trying to figure out where the talks are, how they came up to this. Go ahead.
But Brian, what you need to know is the town is going to own the building.
Wyndham.
And
Yes.
and the town of
Right.
Wyndham, not the school district. So it's kind of an end run, because they're just gonna lease space from the town and say, well, it's not a school building, so you need to share the cost of it.
So we are paying for a building that has been said over and over again by the Wyndham Town Council at their open meeting, that it is the town of Wyndham's building.
Right.
Yeah.
My response is pay for it then,
I don't see that, how can we agree to anything that we're not a party to?
because
I
we
mean,
have
they're making decisions for us,
Yes,
and we're not, that's wrong.
we have
gotta
3
stop that,
representatives on
you
there
know?
that are not questioning this. And I don't know if they fully don't understand that agreement that we have, but
I
Diane.
just saw in the paper today, I won't say which town, just 3 school members are being
I'm watching that too.
kicked off
yeah.
because of incompetency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who these folks are. I don't want to know. I'm still new, you know?
No, but on the other hand, is I think no matter what, they have a responsibility to answer questions from taxpayers, is what it is. Whether they agree with it or not, that's fine. If they agree with it, stand behind it. But to not be able to answer questions and answer that cost-sharing agreement, then it is a problem.
And this is a long-term cost. This is not a,
Well-
correct? This is not just a fixed cost we're talking
It's
about.
probably
No,
a 15 or
Yeah,
20-year
15 to 20
bond.
years
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
bond.
right.
And it's like
We pay
1.2
9%.
million
Right.
dollars. It's, yeah, I think Dana had a question.
Dana, yes?
Yeah, I do. Now, the citizens of Raymond voted pretty overwhelmingly for the RSU. Now, if we have what, 4 buses, 5 buses
And Raymond?
in Raymond?
How many buses?
Come on, bus
We're
driver,
looking
let's
at the
go.
bus driver.
She doesn't want to answer.
I need my job, thank you.
All right, but we're not talking about your budget.
She's like, I do look at my.
But,
Say 6 buses.
you know, what if we pay them to service our buses?
See,
Like, you know, like we
and that's something that we can even offer back up there if they were to sit down and talk to us. The other
Yeah.
thing too is, let's offer to come up here and I'm gonna put this out
Well,
here.
Nathan's not gonna get back that space. I don't think.
No, he offered it. He offered it.
I don't know about that.
No, he did.
Yeah.
John knows. He
Yeah.
offered it up to, Nathan.
Yeah.
Hi, dude.
Yeah. I don't know why he would want to do that, but, you know,
Well, may I?
Yeah.
Yes, you may.
yeah.
In my question on the mechanic, I had approached Mike Kelly to maybe service the buses that are out of this end of their district, the minibuses and the school buses, and share a mechanic, and the response back was that won't work.
Who's Mike Kelly?
Mike Kelly's transportation director for Wyndham School Department.
One of the responses I got to that same
Oh.
question is we can't, because it's a union job, they can't repair.
Correct.
They can't say
Exactly.
they-
But in that same conversation that you had at that meeting, he says we contract buses out all the time
Right.
because
See, you know,
they can't do the lift. So he totally contradicted in a public meeting that's on the Town of Wyndham website of what he was saying.
So they're using public transportation to, basically to move,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah. So, yeah, we got a nice little bill that I think.
Non-union.
He says they were union, I think, right?
Yeah,
their
mechanics are union, yes.
Are they Teamsters?
I don't know what.
Because I know
yeah.
Wyndham's Teamsters.
The Public Works is
Yeah.
Teamster, yeah, and I don't think the school district's the same union.
No.
I believe it's
SCIU.
different, yeah.
So we felt at this point that you guys needed to know, and I think what we've kind of done is run into maybe a little bit of a stone wall and bring in this public.
Can we hold a check?
That's what I
Ask
said, just
the
don't
same
pay them. I'll get their
question. I said, do we
attention.
have to pay them? You know what I mean? And-
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get an answer on that one.
Well,
What?
you know, we gotta get answers on it. I mean, are
Don-
we
Don says-
obligated?
Don says we can't do that.
No, because the situation you have there is if it ends up in the budget and the budget is passed and the budget passes the referendum, you then have no avenue like that. that exists.
Yeah, but what about the rules, Rolf, that were addressed before, you know, this, you know, we had rules that
And that's-
Raymond wouldn't pay
That's
for.
exactly the point, is we're saying that, we're working on trying to make them adhere to the rules.
Right.
They're,
Yeah.
they're interpreting.
We're a nation of rules.
They're interpreting things slightly differently, so you know, the whole point is, let's make sure people are aware of what's going on, so that when these things happen, that, you know, people will have input as well.
And I think one of the reasons we feel we have a case is that when they went out to vote on this building, they said, well, the school committee will be paying part of the cost of the building.
Right.
So right there,
Yeah.
it's a commitment.
Oh, yeah.
So if you go to a bond house and say, wait a minute, Raymond's not gonna pay their share, the bond house might say no. So, you know, that's why we think we have a case, a valid case, saying you're trying to do an end run around
Exactly.
our agreement. So,
Yeah.
They also feel too that they are looking at it their way and we're looking at it our way and we're reading it two different ways and there's like not a,
Well, our way's right.
That's what.
Dana?
we're always right over here.
Well,
Sorry.
you know, and in that meeting, it was brought up, Don Davis had the business manager had a description, and he said, any new footprint, this is a new footprint.
Yeah. Who paid for the roofs up here, and
We split it,
we split it?
because it's part of the school,
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah, that didn't extend the footprint.
okay.
no.
Thank God for that.
Okay, is there anything else on this issue that we need to, I think we've kind of.
Wish there was an easy button,
Are
there's
there
not.
any other questions on this issue? Yes,
Real
Brian?
quick, what's the incremental cost of this? So there's been a building that's being used for the buses currently that's no longer being used, or, I mean, the cost of this building, the 9% of the, whatever the 9 million is, that's not all, is that the incremental amount?
That's,
Or-
that, when you look at the budget, that's in addition to the
Yes.
maintenance that
The
we're
maintenance,
paying, because
okay.
we're not paying for building now.
And
There's
then
no,
not,
there's no payment for
No,
building.
this is an
currently?
add-on, this will be an
Yes.
add-on.
Okay, so it's totally incremental?
Right.
Okay.
and if we go off of what they said, the building alone was 9.3 million, and
Yeah.
I think it's another
That'd be 11 by
3.4
the time
million
they're done.
on
Operating
interest.
costs.
And operating costs on top of all of that. So our nice little budget and our keeping our tax rate down,
I mean, I think you're seeing this all around the state where school budgets are asking for these large increases. And I think people are just getting tired of it.
Right.
And then they're blaming the state for less funding when the state gave 162 million more. So it's, Southern Maine property values are going up. That's driving down, you know, state funding, and people need to keep an eye on their budget. And I just don't think that the school committee keeps an eye on their budget.
We still have the oldest state
Yeah.
in the nation,
Yeah.
so, you know.
so,
Okay,
all right, just
anything
wanna give you an
else?
update.
Anything else? Thank you, Chris. I'm gonna take it back. I'd like to move the minutes of February 27th, 2018 as amended. Have a motion to move those minutes, Brian?
Motion is
yes?
amended?
Second, all in favor? Okay, I'd like to also move the meeting of minutes of March 12th, 2018 as amended, with Dana's name included.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second?
Brian, all in favor? Okay, let's open the workshop. Mr. Chief, you have a presentation to make, I believe. Thank you.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, thank you. Bruce Tupper?
Just let me stop you there for a second.
Yeah.
The public safety budget is on page 20, if we want to take a look at that. This is going to all change, I think, now.
Okay. So you've received a letter outlining what we're requesting, and it's a pay wage adjustment for the fire rescue members that are call members, if you will, or part-time employees of the town, to try to align them with our neighbors. There's multiple reasons, and it kind of all weave together in this complex situation. So it'll align us with our neighbors, or closer to our neighbors. It'll help us to retain members, help us to attract more part-time members, and again, this is really part-time work that these folks are doing. It's not that they're full-time. We have our core group of full-time. We have our core group of call members. The call members are what gives us the depth in the department and saves us a lot of money over the course of the years. And you can kind of equate them in some respect, and unfortunately we do it too often, to the volunteer of the past. The volunteer became paid decades ago, pretty much everywhere in the state of Maine anyways, and throughout New England. And that change itself has been something that we've been trying to catch up with. It has its goods, it has its bads. As we add more full-time people to handle the calls during the day, which are always increasing, we have more and more, it kind of drives out the volunteers, if you will. Their jobs have changed, where they're not allowed to leave work anymore to come and handle our emergencies. There's more than one a day on average, so you know that kind of goes out the window with an employer who used to let folks go when it was once a month, twice a month. It wasn't a big impact to them at that point. The plan that we're looking at will cost roughly $13,600 and would adjust wages about $2 at $2 a person for these call members or part-time employees. To help recruit and retain this valuable resource of licensed, certified, trained firefighters and EMTs who fill in 420 hours of shift time every week and 20 hours of, which averages out to actually about 20 hours per member, if you will. We have 24 call members. So it actually, if you average everything, it comes out to be about 20 hours. Not that each member is getting that. There are some here and some here. Different levels of input, obviously. So in always researching this, and you see the articles, it's widely publicized throughout the state. It's on the news, it's in the papers, it's in the U.S. Fire Administration white papers, it's in the Volunteer Fire Council's papers, because everybody throughout the nation is very concerned with us. They list the main reasons for call members and volunteerism dropping, and then they also list other methodology to try to help combat that. So one of the big things is aging communities. We mentioned it today. We're an old state, but we're an aging community. And I look at Kathy to answer the question, what was our average age on membership? Wasn't it 44? And I think all our neighbors' average ages are like 30, 32.
You say 44 is old.
No, but if that's the average.
So older.
You got me who's like older, and you know.
That's the average for the state of Maine, actually.
So it is. Other communities have, this all kind of weaves together, but other communities have more affordable housing, more apartments, and younger people can move in and start a family and become involved with a department. As that happens, it also becomes a detriment, because then they have kids, and then the family demands grow and they change, and they need to devote time there as well. We on average take in 3 to 5 new members a year. Out of those 3 to 5 that we have currently right now, we have 3. One of them just got cleared in the rescue only, not a firefighter. Other one's brand new, no experience. Another one is going to be going off to college in about 6 months. And we'll lose him for the college season. That's just typical of how things roll. So kind of trying to paint a picture for you all here. So the job has changed, the risks have changed. We're expected to do far more. Our education and training levels for our membership have, the demands of that is incredible. And we know that. I've harped on it years and years. So I'm not going to bore you with all those details unless asked specifically. But our pay, when we compare to others, is not quite there. And unfortunately, we do need to compare to those others, because, as I said last meeting, we're in competition with those other departments with the same exacting labor pool. So Captain Mildrum works with us, but he's also a member of Wyndham and works in Wyndham per diem shifts down there, and they pay him more. Lieutenant Jordan, who's a member here, is also working with Wyndham, and he works all the Wyndham shifts he can get because they pay so much more. Keith Libby is a firefighter EMT here, almost paramedic, same thing applies. And who was the other one I missed just from Wyndham? Tyler Thorpe, firefighter EMT Tyler Thorpe. So 4 of our 24 people right there automatically were in competition with Wyndham on it, as well as their full-time career jobs in the cities of Lewiston, Auburn, etc. This is something that applies to a lot of our folks. Of the rest of our folks, we have several that are in their 70s. I have one who's 80 and still healthy enough to do the job, but the job he does is Marine unit. Okay, he's not a firefighter. He doesn't strap on an air pack, nor is he an EMT, and he's a summertime resident which we affectionately refer to as Summertime Bob. He's only here from May till September. So we take advantage of all the options that we have available to us by trying to recruit these summertime and seasonal folks that come to town, weekend folks like Bruce Draper, the same with him. But he's only here during the weekend. But we're trying to keep the members that we do have. And I think that we need to, for them to help us with the competition, to help us with their value, if you will, because that's also another point that's made, is that when you don't line yourself with the same thing, people do feel devalued, if you will. That we need to implement this pay change to our call members. Again, it doesn't affect our full-time people. They're under the contract. Our union members are under a contract, which is now under a new negotiation. And it doesn't affect our other non-union members, Kathy and myself, Pete and Eric, who are Pete and Eric are part-time, or the per diems, yeah, right. Some of the per diems would get it, but anyway. Kind of in a nutshell, and I didn't want to go through and give you every single detail, so I'm just kind of trying to flow through and give you a gross overview, if you will, from 10,000 feet. Open the floor to discussion, because I know there'll be a lot of questions, suggestions. You saw that I put in the letter the cost of full-time versus our part-time, and making that adjustment. And right now, if we can still maintain, and it's a struggle, but if we can still maintain our call force to supplement the full-time and part-time per diems, if you will, that are handling that first out rescue call and such, that's what gives us the depth, so we're able to handle that next step, that next bigger fire or crash call when we get an extrication with 2 vehicles involved. I got 4 people tied up in ambulance work automatically, 1 in incident command, 1 in safety, 1 running a truck, and 3 or 4 doing extrication, stabilization. Now let's add in 3 or 4 people doing traffic control. That's where those folks come in. That gives us the depth in order to do that. We have made 1 or 2 pay adjustments over my career while I've been here. The most recent, I think, was 4 years ago. And nothing since. Unfortunately, everyone in the area around us is going steps above right at the moment. So.
You say we didn't give you a raise last year?
You went full-time instead.
What's that?
You went salary instead of.
Yeah, I want salary.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah.
also to your staff.
No, merit raises, yes.
Yeah.
We did do merits, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do that. The merits, they aren't enough to bring them up to the area. So yes, no, you're correct. I didn't mean to imply that they didn't get anything, because they did get that.
Right.
It's just that we haven't kept up with the Joneses, if you will. I'm not saying we need to be right with them, but a little closer would help us out tremendously.
Okay, I got a couple questions for you.
Yes.
I think if I'm looking at your list, and I think you said before, I think there's only, maybe 1 or 2 union members?
3.
No, there's 3?
There are 3, yes.
Okay, and how many full-time members do you have?
The full-time medics, firefighters.
So you have the 3,
So-
Kathy, myself.
Okay, so the rest of that list then would be part-time, on-call, per diem, all that. So that would apply to all of this thing you're talking about. Okay. So your uniforms that you say that you get for each of them, once you get somebody in here, you get their uniforms, you get their radios and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just me being on the board the last couple years, the radio repair replacement thing is pretty much the same or goes up each year. Do you get those radios back? Do you, you know what I mean?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Do you, I was gonna say, because,
no.
each year it seems like you're going through a lot of radios and
Yeah, well,
batteries.
and it's kind of like computer technology changes, the radios get used, they're in an extreme environment, so they do get damaged and need to be repaired or replaced
Okay.
constantly. So
What about like the uniforms and gear? So if you
Yeah.
do you pay for them or do they pay for them?
we do.
So then they leave,
Well,
they take them.
mostly, I say some of our part-time people buy I guess,
They buy a lot
the
of
sweatshirt, they'll buy,
themselves.
that's $75 for a sweatshirt.
But everything else that has to fit them up,
And then all
yeah.
Yeah,
returned.
yeah. And
Okay.
the gear has to fit them. It's made specifically for a person's size in order to work and appropriately. That gear has a 10-year shelf life on it.
Okay.
Manufacturer says 10 years, you replace it. They won't stand behind it, and if someone gets hurt wearing it, it's me, that are guilty for it. And that's
Teresa, At
costly.
the end, if they leave,
Yes,
they turn their gear in.
turn the gear.
Okay.
Any piece of gear, apparatus, equipment that's given to them, it's signed out. and-
I'm sitting here thinking, wow, we're going through some new guys, and we've got gears, we've got scanners, we've got all that stuff, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I hope we're at least getting
Yeah.
that back. But you
So-
still have that cost on that you're putting out to them and that. Regarding the wages, and I mentioned to this to you before, I don't think there's an easy fix. But I think what happens is, the town has turned to try to do this merit pay system is what it is. And I know we're just in the first year of it. But I guess from reading your letter, what I'm looking at is you have the merit pay, you have the $2 increase, and then you have the certification. So technically,
Yes.
with all of these people, it would be like three raises on one. Does that make sense?
No, I
Well,
would say
because
no.
you can move up the ladder on pay
Yes.
scales because of certifications. Like if you get your certification in this, you go up to firefighter 2. I don't know what they are, I'm just
Yes.
throwing that out there is what it is. So in 1 year, if somebody's working there, they know what they can get to move up the scale with their certifications and stuff like that.
Yes.
But then when we're throwing out the merit on top of it, and then we're throwing out the $2 raise.
$2 would go across the board to everybody, so if someone was whatever certification, making $13 an hour, and I think our average pay, if you take our folks, is $12.75, $12.27, I got it inverted, per hour. That's our average pay for firefighters and EMTs, outside of the full-time staff.
Okay, and I'm
That's our
not,
call.
I get what you're saying. We
Yeah.
don't not appreciate them and what they do.
Right.
But my next question would be, what happens next year when the next town over, up to theirs, another $1.50, $2, and we're like trying to play catch-up?
Right.
And I think we discussed this,
I-
like we're always chasing.
Did I call it the shell game last time? I think I
Yeah.
mentioned that term, but.
Yeah, and it is,
I've always
so-
said that, and
I
I
don't know if
don't
that's the fix for
disagree
it.
with you,
Right.
but I think it's also the reality that at some point, Falmouth gets mad and pays more to get people than Yarmouth, than Gray, than Gorham, than, and that's kind of how the cycle does work. It takes a few years, and that's why every few years we end up discussing it. And it's not just for those per diem shifts, but it's more to align, multifocal. So it's to align those per diem shifts, but it's also to align our regular members who aren't going anywhere. I mean, it's just, they're here, but they also know that other towns pay a lot more.
Did-
And then there's the value of that.
Well, did you fill out that merit? I think there was a form that everybody got, and what happens is you had to pay what that rate is for those many certifications, kind of like a step program. Did you guys do that, or,
Guess
I don't know, Dawn,
I'm
do you know what I'm talking about?
not envisioning what you're talking about, so I
I
don't.
don't think I'm, say it again, I was,
Didn't each department have to fill out what their job title is, and then we were figuring out what the
We
next
didn't
town
do
over?
that with those
scale, yeah.
members, no, those members didn't,
All company
no,
members.
no, but we put them in our
Study
merit
did
pool
not
in the end, we didn't do it in the
do that.
study. Correct.
Okay,
Bruce, you have a budget of $776,000 you sent in.
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, I'm sure it's
Okay,
right.
what is now the budget you're sending in? It's 13,500?
That would be 13, about 13.8
13,
roughly,
I think it's what it is.
added in 13.6.
Now, why wasn't this
I'll
in
adjust
the
the
original
box.
budget?
It was added as an addendum for talking points, et cetera. I mean, it could have added it in the regular budget. I just assumed we would probably be right here at the same.
I made a decision
Meeting.
not to do that.
I
I
mean,
thought it was
'cause-
worthy of a separate discussion.
I mean, fire departments are like school departments right now with bus drivers. It's a competition. If you want to go to Falmouth or wherever, you can make more an hour. That's the way, it's how it works.
Right, and to that same point,
It's how
30
you
years
treat your
ago-
personnel. If you treat them
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
they'll stay here for $1 less. And if you don't, they'll go elsewhere unless, they don't have any.
30 years ago, yeah, when it was all volunteer, if you will, truly volunteer,
Yeah.
and there was only this many calls every month, and
Yeah.
it was an easier game, if you will.
Yeah.
But, it's changed dramatically with all the, what's required of the folks. Training levels, education levels, and call volume itself.
Well, and again, Bruce, we saw in the news lately where they told a fire department to not to go on call because their equipment,
Yep.
and the equipment was perfectly fine.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it was, and it was deemed fine. You got, you know, they're going by NFPA, and there are other requirements that, I mean, if you don't wear the equipment, if you don't have a fire in 2 years, and you got brand-new equipment, you know, how can you wear it down? You know, and that's how their logic was, I guess, and they said, reopen the fire department.
Totally, yeah, totally.
And I agree with them.
They do expire at a certain point regardless of use, just.
From what?
Material degradation.
Car seats do the same thing though, which is so strange for babies,
Material
yeah. And
degradation.
it's got, they got,
5 years.
yeah,
Yep,
which is weird to think what's
Yeah,
gonna go, but it
standards.
does.
790,
yeah, absolutely.
310.
Actually, our gear right now is out of standard, but it's not out of date. Yes.
Bruce, can you sum this up for me now?
Sum it up.
All right. So you're asking, how much are they making an hour right now?
On our average, if we take all of our call members and average them, it's $12.70 an hour. Kind of give you that. middle of the road.
$12.75 an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our average, and these are folks who are licensed, certified, well-trained.
And this is what they're
educated
getting
folks.
when they go out on duty, correct?
Out on a call, when they're
Thank you.
cutting open a car.
Only
you
when they
people
go out on the call.
Correct, or
Correct.
if they happen to work a per diem shift that's open.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you want $2 more
$2
per
more per
person that goes out on that call,
Correct.
correct?
Not
Correct.
full-timers, part-timers.
Not full-timers. All of our other people, so
So if somebody goes out full-time, they're gonna get the
they're
regular.
already getting the rate they're getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the bottom line now would be $790,310, that's what we're being asked to consider, yes, go ahead.
Bruce,
Yes.
I'm supportive of this to the extent that I think next year you really need to come in with a different plan.
Right.
We're a town of 4,600 people, and the towns you mentioned are Wyndham at 18, 19,000 now, Yarmouth at 15,000, Falmouth at, 12,000. So we are gonna have a hard time ever competing against those towns. So we need to come up with a plan, a retention plan of some sort. Maybe at the end of a year, you talk about, I don't know, a $500 bonus or a $1,000 bonus, or here's how many calls we did.
Yeah.
But this chase of money
Right.
never, ever works.
One of the, to your point too, we've had a lot of these discussions. I mean, this isn't something we just said, magic hat, throw a dart at the board, and this is what we're gonna do. One of the ideas that's been floated around is, can we contribute, or those members contribute to retirement in a 457 or a 401 type?
I mean, the
And
law
can
allows it
town
now. Yeah.
contribute to that to a certain percentage, and could we plan on that? That wasn't something that could put together today for this year's budget, I'm sure, but in the future, I think it's something that we would definitely want to talk about and say, this is something that might keep someone around, and 20 years after they begin, hey, there's their grocery bill every month paid for by this retirement.
But how does that work with the rest of the employees? Do they have to work so many hours to get
Well,
that
it
type of
depends how
thing?
your plan is set
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
But I
Didn't
mean,
know.
I hate Band-Aids.
We do.
I much prefer to,
Rip it off.
I'm all right with doing a Band-Aid today, as long as we have the commitment that we're gonna come in and we're gonna look at the thing and come up with an overall plan, because, otherwise, we're just, we're shoveling against the tide, and I'd rather get ahead of the tide.
I do too, absolutely. And to another point too, and it isn't just the Falmouth Yarmouth, but we're also considering Poland's and Casco's and Grays when we look at it, and they too.
But they're doing the same thing
Yeah,
we are.
they
They're
too are ahead.
chasing
Right.
the dollar,
Right,
just
right.
like we are. So,
Absolutely. I mean, the ultimate would be that merged department, if you will, in the future.
Yeah.
And that's really where I could see us going, but
Yes,
to get
ma'am.
everybody on board.
The biggest difference I've seen over almost 4 decades is the thing that Dana alluded to. The idea of, in the old days, it was be true to your school. You did it because it was your hometown. You did it because it was community service, volunteerism. We still have some of that. That's a big part of the ethic of public safety. But it's because of the standards, because of the requirements, the pool of people who have the qualifications to do it are narrow. The towns are close together. They're in competition with one another. these people do it in most instances, or many instances, as their full-time career. They're gonna go where they can get the best deal, and that's what they're doing. So it's a different environment than it was, and there may be things that we can do to mitigate that, to incentivize people to be here, to stay here. We can look at that and come back, and certainly will. But it's not the idea of hometown volunteers anymore.
Well, the requirements, Don, weren't as stringent.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's incredible right now. You gotta do all the training and stuff, and people just don't have the time. That the ones that want to volunteer, that do excavation work, or the Dwayne Buzzles and the Chris Nasses and the guys that used to step up to the plate and get the job done. They just didn't have the time to do it because they had a business to run. And,
Well, that's another factor. I mean, people are very busy trying to live their lives, make an income, and I think the studies have shown that the predominant people who volunteer or who participate in these jobs are your blue-collar tradesman type people.
Right.
That's not the predominant life form of Raymond, increasingly. So we have an older, I guess on average, higher median income demographic that's probably biased more towards a white-collar sort of population. So we don't really have the ideal population for public safety volunteerism.
it's time to get them out of the nursing homes.
Yes, Brian.
Don, just a quick question. 5 or 6 or 7 towns, they all have the same problem.
Yeah.
Have all the town managers, have you had a meeting, just say, can we do something like establish a basic $15 an hour for whatever across the board, and then they adjust it because it costs more to live in Wyndham or something like that, to where the towns, instead of always competing, you do compete, but
So
there's
you're
some...
saying, have we had a discussion about colluding over wages?
Yes, there was no collusion.
I
No
can't wait
collusion.
to
I was just waiting for that.
Wow. We haven't, actually, no.
Think about it.
All price fixing and all that good stuff.
Right, yeah.
Just ask the Russians.
Yes, Teresa.
Okay, so when you give these guys their gear and you give these guys their scanners, is there any way that you can put a contingent on you have to volunteer so many hours? Do you know what I mean?
We do.
Like, okay. So in other words, what happens instead of like, okay, we're giving you all this stuff, what do you mean you only showed up like
Yeah.
2 hours
You're
here?
expected to do a minimum of 3 shifts a month. The average is 5 shifts a month, so that's 12 hours
Okay.
per member to stay in good standing.
Trainings, in-house trainings, 24 hours a year, plus 24 hours of mandatory training a year.
It's nothing.
No,
That's
you don't
it.
have to do a lot of training for your to
not
be able to
that
keep
bad.
those. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it's really not bad to be able to maintain.
No.
Chief, in your letter that you sent, there was the addendum, I just want to make sure this is still accurate,
Okay.
that the $2 an hour would move the lowest paid certified Raymond members to $11 an hour and the highest paid call members to $17.75 an hour. Is that still correct?
11.
Um,
Well, that would be a hair off on the 11 because minimum wage jumped to 10, so it'd actually be 12 when we
Would
go
be
with
12.
that. Yep,
But minimum
That's
wage
the
goes
only
to
one that's
11 next
different.
January anyway, correct?
correct.
So it'd be
So in the highest
and the
pay,
highest
they have
would be correct?
1450 would be 1650, and if they're an officer, there's a small, like a 75-cent an hour.
Okay,
stipend
so the
for a cap.
1775 is about right on the
Yep.
high end?
Yep.
Okay.
On the high end, that would be exactly right. Yes. And there's only a few people in that category, if you will, 3 to be exact, so.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make comments,
Yes,
Marshall?
yes, Kathy.
Kathy Goslin, the deputy chief. I want to Joe just mentioned, who we're looking for in a Band-Aid, and Dawn mentioned it. We have some 70-year-old members. They can no longer wear air packs, so they're not certified firefighters anymore. We are looking to keep our 20 and 30 and 40-year-old firefighters employed in Raymond. Those are the ones that are working per diem jobs in the other town. When Andrew can go to Wyndham and make $5 more an hour, and he's not an officer there, he's going to do it. Why? He has a mortgage, he has a child, he has bills to pay. And at this stage in his life, in his late 20s, that's what he needs. So $5 an hour difference is huge for him. And that's what we're finding. The other thing, the state Maine EMS just came out with a study of where numbers are going. This is, what we're talking about a Band-Aid, but you got to understand what they are saying within the next 10 years, we need 30% more paramedic EMTs than what we have available in the state right now. So it's not like we can just go out and say, hey, come volunteer, we want you to work for us. The state has a shortage, which over the next 10 years is supposed to dramatically increase. When I talk to the other chiefs, they're trying to hire paramedics. They used to get 20 people apply for two openings. Now they're getting 6, and 5 of them they don't want. So that's what kind of we're looking at. Yes, is this a Band-Aid? It's a start. And we've been looking, but we just need your help in getting there.
Okay, I want to kind of wrap this up. Don?
The other point I'd like to make is regardless of the wealth of the town, and there are some wealthy towns adjacent to us, everybody's trying to do the same thing.
Right.
They're all trying to, stave off the hiring of additional full-time people. So this per diem idea, and I think that actually, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but it came out of Scarborough, didn't it, originally?
Originally, in
So
this area,
going way back, it was a way not to hire full-time people, and then everybody emulated that idea with the same idea, whether it was a rich town, poor town, rural town, urban town. So now you have this small pool of people. It's a great time to be a firefighter and a young firefighter. You work your full-time career, you can work a couple days, then you can surf around, greater Portland and find all the work you want. And as you pointed out, there's a great variability between towns, and if you're 25 years old, 28 years old, 35 years old, maybe any age, you go where you get the most money. And that's what they're doing.
And the retirees stay here because they love Raymond.
And the
Yeah,
retirees stay here because they love Raymond.
What are they talking about?
And that used to be true in every town. The people didn't go, if you lived in Scarborough, you didn't go to South Portland to volunteer, and vice versa. That's changed. That's the biggest change I've seen.
Okay, anything else on this issue? All right, moving right along. Thank you, Bruce. Lee, you are not on the agenda, but I'll give you a minute if you have something burning to say.
No, I just was here to observe the discussion.
Raymond Village Library is up. Any comments on Raymond Village Library? Yes, Teresa?
Okay. We, for a couple years, have been trying to get a handle on the Raymond Village Library, and as far as their budgets and stuff like that. And I think, was it maybe 2 years that we realized that there was, I want to call it a secret account type thing. And I know at the last presentation with Lee up there, and I had to actually go back and listen to it over again to make sure I heard it right, that they took $35,000 and put it into their savings account to build up their savings account. And it's something that it was her understanding that these committees wanted her to do, or wanted the library to do. I'm not putting on you, you know that. Wanted the library to do. I don't think the committees have ever said that, and I guess what I would like to see is if there's $35,000 that's extra that's to be put into a savings account to build that up, and you're still asking for $60,000, I would like to see some of that $35,000 come back to the town.
Let me just clarify. I thought it was 15.
No, that's why I went back and I looked at it. It is 35, correct?
Okay.
It was 15.
Oh, it was 15? Because I think on the video.
You mentioned $35,000.
Yeah, because if you look,
Sorry.
if you look at page 74,
Yeah.
you can see a $15,000
Wait,
increase.
no,
Yeah.
what page is it?
74. It's in cash savings, 15. Well, it's a little bit more than 15. But they play games with the building too. But page 74, you'll
Yeah.
see the increase in cash, 117 to 148. That is close to 30.
That's 35, there is no.
That's 30, yeah.
At the beginning of the year and the end of the year, the cash savings is 148
Right.
down to 117. That's not 15,000.
But okay. They've increased their cash by 30,000. You're correct.
Right. So I guess if you're increasing your cash by that, I would ask that pretty much, I want to say in good faith, give some back to the town and either lower, I think you guys are getting in more on a budget, figuring out what you guys have, what you guys need and stuff like that. And you're still asking for $60,000 from the town when you're putting money into that savings account to build that back up. And to me, that's not okay, I guess. I get what you're doing. I realize that. And I think That's all I'm gonna say on it, yeah. I might be the only one, but,
The question is, do we take taxpayer money, give it to the library, and let them put it in an investment account? That's the question.
right, and that's what I'm having a problem with.
Any other comments on the library? Yes, sir.
Lee, if you don't mind, I
Yeah.
just need to understand how this happened. So-
The amount of the overages that we had in the letter, I broke down why some of those things happened.
This
Some,
letter, this presentation starts on page 59, if you want to follow along the letters.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Chief?
That's all right.
so, part of the reason why, well, let me just,
Says
Oh, I
you
actually-
received your second payment of 15,000 in December.
No, they had
We
not.
had not received it. Came in.
that's as of this year,
Okay,
currently.
But it came in December,
Yes.
and then you took that 15,000, put it into your savings account,
No, that was actually off of last year's.
okay?
That was off of last year's budget, which ended the fiscal year of June 30th, 2017. The overage from last year gave us enough cash flow to be able to move that money into the savings account to rebuild the investment
And that
account.
was the 15,000.
That was the 15,000.
And then you had growth of another 16,000.
We have, right, well, some of our investments have done well,
Right.
so that's a part of it.
Okay.
So that's where that comes from. I mean, our budget is pretty tight, and we are living to that budget. And we were able to catch up on some things through a good annual appeal. And the investment money we don't spend, and we are now looking at that. Ideally for us, we would have a one-year balance in that investment account of our annual operating budget, which we are now hitting. We were there, and it got spent down, and we're now back up there. So
So at
now we
one
would,
time, you had 200,000 in there?
I don't remember ever having $200,000, which I'm not saying that's not true, but.
I know a couple of years that they've been using like 40, yeah.
I know that, yeah, I mean, I guess the way I look at it, for the last couple of years, we've been fairly critical, and the reason being, they were spending into those reserves.
Right.
And it was not a sustainable model.
Right.
And, in my opinion, I think from a going forward standpoint, we're in good shape to let that ride for this year, see where they are. And, with the hopes that they're gonna continue some of these other fundraising things, and with the hope that, in a year or so, then they can, maybe start to reduce some of what they're asking. But, I don't think we want to penalize them for doing what we asked them to do, which was try and stop their bleeding, and they've done that. And if we kind of cut that back, are we going to restart? Are we picking the scab and going to restart that, or let's let them continue on this path and start to grow things, so they then can do a better job of supporting themselves.
Is that the goal of these committees, that we are completely self-sustaining and that the town does not want to support a public library? Is that what
No,
'cause
I
that's
don't-
sort of what I'm hearing, is
No,
that,
that's not true at all.
That's not true at
No.
all.
Okay.
But
But I think the question keeps coming up every year is how much do we keep paying? It kept going up is
Right.
what it is. And like I said, just 2 years ago, we just realized that, okay, we're thinking you guys are spending within your means with that, whatever money we gave you, and you guys are seriously dipping in the other one. And I don't have a problem with then putting some back, but I guess I'd like to see some come back to the town too, is the way I was going after it from what Ross just said.
If you have a good year,
I am not,
Right now, they got a good year.
I don't,
Yeah,
we-
right, yeah.
investments, I
Yeah,
mean.
I get that.
just to clarify that, we are not interested in using town money to fill up an investment account. If we want to increase that account, we will go to a campaign to fundraise for an endowment. I mean, that's the way the board thinks. We don't think, hey, let's go get an extra 15,000 from the town so that we can just put it into a savings account. We
No,
are
and
trying to meet the needs of operating the budget of that building.
Right,
And when
and
you
I-
look at our budget, it doesn't talk about anything above and beyond the fundraisers that we have and the town money that we get. And we're very thankful. Seriously, actually, if you drop it back to $30,000, I don't know what we'd be able to do. It would
And I
be
get that.
impossible for us to run the library.
Right, but I guess, never mind. I'm
So
moving
I
on.
see where you're coming from. You don't want it to just keep going up, and all of a sudden, we're asking for $150,000.
And meanwhile, you're putting money
Right.
aside to build up
Yeah.
that account again,
Right.
and honestly, you guys have gone through a lot of people in the last couple of
Right.
years trying to get this, so everybody kind of does things a little bit differently.
Right.
So meanwhile, some people are dipping into that, some people are trying to spend within that checkbook, which is that $60,000 or whatever, and not do that. So that is my concern. And so meanwhile, you finally have turned it around. And not to penalize you by no means. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
I'm thinking, wow, you guys have got some. To me, it was $35,000.
Right.
Give a little bit back to the town, not asking for all of it, or maybe just lower it down 10,000 and say, okay, hey, it's only 50,000 for the thing because we had a good year. Maybe next year you need that 60,000 because it wasn't a good year. It wasn't, you didn't meet your annual. It's kind of like watching it year by year. Is the way I'm
Right.
looking at it.
If I could jump in here, I think I agree with Walt. We've been pounding on them to get some decent numbers for years. We finally have a set of decent numbers. We also had seeing the library stabilize in their expenditures. If I was the library, I would seriously consider not taking the fourth payment next year and leaving it at 45,000 on the draw rather than trying to penalize them now.
And I'm not trying to
Do you know
penalize
what I'm
by no
saying, Lee?
means.
You've got
Yep.
four $15,000 payments. Don't take the last one if you don't absolutely need it. The other question I have is, any of these investments, are they locked at all? Are they specific investments?
It's in a
or is it-
balanced fund through KeyBank, and so
Yeah,
they're,
but they're not
You're not committed to
specified
them.
investments, is that right?
I can get you
Designated
the
funds.
information about it. They're mutual funds through.
No, he's saying, they did.
Oh, are they designated? No.
Designated.
Are they like endowed?
They're at your will and desire?
Correct.
Fine, that's fine. I would seriously consider not taking that fourth payment next year.
Okay.
Go from there. Yes, Joe?
I'm thinking a little differently.
Okay. We usually do.
Yeah, we all do.
I think you just leave it for the year. I mean, we do fund half their budget
Yeah, we do.
or more.
Yeah.
And the library's an important place, but I'm happy that they did not come in and ask for an increase this year.
75.
I'm like thrilled. I'm like, I started on this
He said
board
that too,
and
yeah.
they were at 24,000 and we're now up to 60,000. And it's like, okay, that's a good amount. Funding half the budget is okay with me, but I don't want to go to 70 or 80, So I think we're good right where we're at, and
Yep.
I say take all your money, and if you have a little left over at the end, keep it in a small checking account because you're gonna need it at some point.
Marsha, I have to say, this is what I think I like best about the boards, is because he's giving a different perspective. You do, and you look at it.
Checks and balances.
Yeah, but I mean, it gives you different ways to look at things, is what it is. So I'm looking at it one way, but then they're looking at it, and it makes you look at it all different sides, which is.
Anything else on the library?
Let's go.
Mr. Walker, you're gonna remain silent?
I am.
No?
He's saying this is the only one.
He wants to go home.
He nodded off, I saw him.
Yeah, okay. Not to pick on you, Brian. All right, moving right along. Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Code enforcement, page 16. Work right through these now if we can. Any changes, anything we want to talk about on code enforcement? That's a capital one and a 6.
I keep calling him Kurt. I feel bad for him all the time. Don't I, Sue? All the time.
It's going down a little bit.
School?
Which new guy in
Okay.
town?
We get to revenues, I have a couple questions for on that, okay. Okay, community development, page 19. Don, maybe you can help us, there's a shift in there, 26,000.
Basically, we
Kathy.
moved everything in community development to the TIF except for the bus.
Okay, we'll get with the TIF later. So are you trying to eliminate the community development cost center?
And leave it in the TIF, yeah.
Okay.
I think the issue was we had excess capacity in the TIF, and so we needed to move some things to the TIF. I don't think it was a deliberate idea to eliminate community development, but to,
Okay. No,
Just
I meant
seemed like the
I meant
best
the
fit
accounting
in-
category. Okay,
we reshuffled the budget to use some excess capacity is a better way to say it, I think.
okay.
So we still get to talk about the bus then? Yeah,
We
right?
get to talk about the bus thing. Is the bus thing in here?
Yeah.
Lake Region Bus.
Just all
Lake
that's left.
Region bus.
Okay, we're open for Lake Region
And
Bus.
they're asking for 20
Comments?
26.
Shall we go alphabetically? Teresa?
I beat Bruno. I am going to say pass on the bus, but take that money that's in that bus,
Mhm.
$1,000 of it, and put it on the Southern Maine.
Aging.
Aging agency. Huh? Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
So I think what do we pay now? 7,000 on that, or 9,600?
96 is what they requested, 7,000 is what we agreed to pay for this year.
So we put 1,000 on the Southern Maine, put 6,000 back in the budget.
I have issues with Southern Maine, so I'm not.
That's just my 2 cents. You can put in yours too.
I mean, yeah, what's in the budget is 96.56.
Yeah.
That's their initiated request.
Right.
We've always given less than that.
Right.
They recently sent a letter saying they'd like that, but they would appreciate anything that we would give them.
Right.
So I think what she's saying is give them what they got last year, take 1,000 off it, or appropriate what we had last year, take 1,000 of that, give it to the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging, is that
I'm
it?
not sure
Yep.
that's what
Yeah.
she's saying.
Yes.
Yeah, it is what she said.
Yeah, because we're.
I got it.
Took us so long.
Well, some of us may not agree with
I
that.
agree with you,
Remember,
Mr.
as you
Bruno.
get older, you may need it. So, anyways.
I already qualify, but I'm not asking for any money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's you asked
I
for
don't
input.
think
That
I'll
was
ever
my
need
input.
it.
I think that we should not do the bus and add that in there. If we've
Okay, so
got
you're saying zero money to the bus?
No?
yes,
That's what I thought you were saying.
because we have been watching this for the
Right.
last
It's going
5 years,
nowhere.
maybe.
Oh, I guess I don't understand.
I think is what it is.
You're right. You should
And
take a
so I would say no, 4 years. I am saying no on the bus. The Southern, from what the numbers that came up, that Southern agency, they're showing numbers of being used. I don't, still not getting that accuracy on the bus riders. And I still really have a problem with us paying $3. And I know they explained it in that letter, but us paying $3 and Bridgeton is paying $3 too. And they said it's just easier over across the
Easier on the
board.
bus driver.
It is, so they don't have to be changed and everything else. But to me, we have, every year that we have talked to them about it, we have brought this issue up. And if they want our money, I think that they should be working with us a little bit more on that too. So that's just my 2 cents.
I'm
Okay.
willing to give the bus like $1,000. I just do not see the benefit of it. I just.
Any other comments, Bob?
Yeah, I found it pretty interesting when they came in for their presentation, that they touted the 302 corridor, and then Naples was embracing it as an economic boom, and other Naples didn't approve it, the spending last year for this. So,
Naples came and keep a golf
Anything
course
else?
open, so.
Yes, Dana, did you want to
No,
make an
I'm all
official
set.
comment? Okay, Ryan.
The bus gets down to, if we're gonna do a cost-benefit analysis on an individual rider, it's never gonna work. It's public transportation. I think the question becomes, are we going to be members of the Lakes region, number one? Number two, there are a lot of people who do use that bus. I ride it from time to time. I've talked to people who would be in dire straits if they didn't have it. They don't have cars. They don't have options. they're commuting to school. Many of them are going to places like SMCC. It works rather efficiently that way. I agree that there are some real issues with the way RTP is managing it. I think they've got a number of issues. I agree with Joe in terms of, I think, because of the difference, I understand their point of view on having a single thing because it's simpler, a single fare. But with the length and the distances, I believe they need to think about having a staggered fee structure. They also have monthly passes, which are exceedingly low. And frankly, I believe the $3 is exceedingly low. I think they need to bring up their pricing. I do think that the one thing that, why I would like to see them get some funds, and I would suggest $5,000, is because part of their funding is their ability to show support on the part of the communities. And while I don't think they've made as much progress as I had hoped that they would, and which is why I'm suggesting $2,000 lower than last year, I do believe that it provides a role for the Lakes region. And there are people who are living in Raymond, and there's people that living in surrounding towns, and I know we're not doing the budget for surrounding towns, that rely heavily on it to get to school, to get to work, and the like.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Rolf, yes, sir.
We've made allusions to it a couple of times tonight that we are an aging community. And I think it's important that with that in mind, that we keep an eye on things that are going to be a benefit to the aging group. And I think transportation is one area that comes into play there. Do I like their total budget? Do I like their total setup? No. Do I think that service has some value to people in the long run? Yes, I do. And therefore, I think it's in our best interest to put some money there. I don't think it to the, the total tune that they're asking for. So, maybe the $5,000 or $6,000 is an appropriate number. But I think that we want to encourage the thought and whatnot. I think they still have some more work to do to try and bring it up. But as we look at where the ages are going in the community, I think we're going to have more requirements for things like that as we go forward.
I would agree with you if the bus stop would stop at the elderly places, and it doesn't. It stops over here.
Well, I mean,
Convenient
that's a discussion that
Right.
could be had with it, is changing that, and things like that. But I see it as something that's going to have more value as we go down the road.
Go ahead.
Last year, there was a grant that provided passes for ridership on the Explorer bus. Is there a balance of those tickets still available? Or is even a dent put in them?
That was self-defeating anyway, I think. Okay, Brian, yes.
Okay, I'll make it quick. I agree with Teresa on look at this.
I'm sitting here thinking I'm bad.
Well, I want to try to separate the two.
Yeah, okay.
We'll deal with them.
We can find out about that. I think there were tickets provided for, that
Oh,
were
yeah,
for
but-
general assistance. We can find out how many Alice has issued.
Yes.
I mean, that would be an
I don't know the answer.
need.
I know she's issued some, but I'll find out.
He's talking to us.
We're still on the bus with Brian.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree with taking $1,000 of that and doing it to the.
All right, we're going to deal with SMA.
Well, what do you think about the bus?
We're going to do it. The bus.
Yeah.
It has value. I think we need
Okay.
to support it. So we're going to do the aging later. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll do the agent later. Anything else on community development?
So
There is.
this bus thing, we are subsidizing every other town around us. When you look at ridership, Naples and Bridgeton, thousands of people are riding it. Raymond, we don't even get to 1,000. Yet, we're paying all this money. I don't, it's a bad investment.
I agree. I've said no all the way along on this.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, I'm willing to give them a little,
5 to 6 people a day, Joe.
not even that.
Not that.
No, I think,
It's
I
about
think you think,
4.
yeah.
15
No.
Yeah. So, I just have a hard time giving them what they're asking for, or even even 5,000 to me is a lot of money, but, and then when I read their email today saying, we'll just take anything you give us.
Yeah.
That tells me that, you know, we're kind of desperate, so just give us something, so,
I think
anyway.
every year we say, let's look at it next year, let's look at it next year.
Yeah, and to me, until they redesign everything and manage it properly, I think you send them a message by saying, we're gonna give you a little token here, but you need to redesign this thing. That's just me.
Okay.
Are any votes being taken tonight?
Not tonight, not a voting meeting.
The community development, can we add one more thing in there? Because I don't know if that's where it was.
What?
The Everybody Loves Raymond. I need to drop that. I'm not asking for
There is no money in
2,000.
the budget set aside for Everybody Loves Raymond at this point.
Right, remember,
We're going to continue not setting aside money.
we're not going to. The library has decided not
Right.
to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on the bus? No, moving right along to assessing. 15, page 15. Some
Software upgrade.
software upgrade.
Change in the contract is the
Yep.
first change since 11. Very pleased with Kurt LaBelle and the
Yep.
performance of his work as our contract assessor.
Dana,
Quick question.
Dana, go.
We pay Kurt a salary, all right?
No,
Now,
he has a
come-
contract.
Contract,
Contract.
okay. Now, Cumberland County's doing assessing. In
Yes.
essence, we're paying for assessing through our taxes with the county.
Yes, here's my thought on that.
What would it cost us?
It would be
for-
marginally lower to go with Cumberland County. I don't want to see it assessing Cumberland County.
Me either.
I think you're better off having our own local function
I'd
and local
rather see
control.
not too much coming
But,
out of Cumberland County. But
But some towns have used Cumberland County, and I'm hearing that they're reasonably satisfied with the work that they're doing. Even some significant towns, if you will, Falmouth, Yarmouth, I think maybe doing it, possibly Cumberland, I know Casco. It's around the same money, and I think local control better.
Yeah,
I think we have a really good assessor right now.
yeah, he is. He's Kurt's
Yeah,
doing
so-
a great job.
I hate to lose them,
Yeah.
you know, and rely on county government. That
Yeah, well,
isn't
the thing
best
is,
run.
Joe, we're also paying
Yeah, you're paying twice.
twice, you
Yeah,
know?
I get it.
I know you get it.
Kurt, Scott,
But
whatever.
you'd still have a contract with them, though. You know, it's not that you would join county government, pay your taxes, and have your assessing.
No, I
You
realize.
still pay a contract.
Yeah, you
And
have to pay a
Yeah.
fee.
Right, and it's a little bit less than you'd pay Kurt, but I prefer Kurt.
Yeah, me too.
Anything else? Administration, page 13. Any comments? Okay,
Hang on a second.
okay.
Do you have enough in the budget for ranked choice voting? Or is that this year? That's this year's budget, isn't it?
It's this year's.
It is this year's, but I should borrow. Ranked choice voting is in this year's election for June. And the expense to the town won't be more. What will be more is the time it takes to cast your ballots. Because no longer can we have one machine that both ballots go into. The state ballot will go in one box, the town ballot will go in the next one. And from what I've been told so far, it is very likely that the programming within the machine to count the ranked choice is going to take some time. So people are going to have to stand there and put their ballot in, wait for it to churn for a second, they'll get a message it's okay. Then we'll have the next machine right next to it, they can put their town ballot in and go.
Wow.
What a
So-
great idea.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Beautiful.
So the whole reason that I put a second machine in the budget in the first place is now gone. Though, had we not gotten that second machine, we'd be hand counting all the town ballots.
Well, we can thank Governor LePage for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
2010.
Okay, next one is the TIF on page 28.
That's what we need to so far.
The TIF. I'm sorry, what page?
28,
Thank you.
TIF. It's been mentioned, there's been some shifting into this category.
Yeah, the things that you'll see that were shift were, let's see, the salaries, the ordinance update, the planning services, advertising, and I think there was some supplies too. Supplies general, yeah. Pretty sure that was, gonna say that was it. Yeah, that was it. Oh, we also did put in, we put some of the paving into the TIF this year. There's obviously a big chunk of it is in the CIP, but we put paving in here.
Right.
And we also have some playground improvements that are new to the game.
That's Mill Street.
The reason being, I mean, is we paid off the 2 bonds and that loosened up like over about $100,000.
Okay. Any comments on this?
Yeah, what's going on at the playground improvement-wise?
Teresa?
Nathan?
Nathan?
I passed by.
The end of last year, we repaired the old system, reset it, put the concrete in. We've got mulch coming in that we do every year. And we're gonna add a smaller unit and change the swing set.
Okay.
That's what we plan on doing this year.
And
That's
some
what
bocce
we'll-
courts.
Hmm?
And some bocce courts.
And some, yes.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, he's faithful with putting those in.
Is there a fence going around basketball court eventually,
Yes.
Nathan?
Yeah, that's gonna happen this spring, I hope. I ran out of money last year,
No,
so we're gonna try to do
I
it this spring.
understand that, but
We gotta do something.
gotta
Kid-
keep people off
yeah.
that with snowmobiles and four-wheelers.
Cars and pickups,
Cars.
and yeah.
Yeah,
But-
too much abuse being there. Is there any way we could put a camera down there to
We
keep?
had, I had
Yeah.
talked to Kevin about it, and it got waylaid, and I'm gonna hit him up again this year for it. I think
Yeah.
part of it was there's no internet connection
Yeah.
there for him.
How about Cumberland County Sheriff's? There's so many drug deals that go on down there, it's pathetic.
I think what happens is they land there, and then they get called off, and that's when the stuff happens.
I mean, because it'd be easy enough to put a camera down there to,
I would think so,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, you get cars spinning around down there. And there's a lot of vandalism that's
There's a lot of
going on down
vandalism there, yes, there is.
And it's gonna be stopped, you know. It's in that little strip there from the fishing hole that I love to go to and,
To the
at
ball
Mill Street
field.
and then the
Yep.
ball field.
Yep.
It's just constant, you know.
We've caught a few, but it's hard, when you catch them and they don't prosecute them, it's kind
Yeah, I know.
of unnerving.
Tell me about it.
Nathan, can we possibly, with that basketball court, multi-purpose that? Meaning, can you, if you're gonna put a fence up all the way around it, put a pole on one side, pull a net across so people can possibly play tennis in there too? I know you won't have the
I would think
same.
so, but who's gonna take the net down and up and down? That'd be.
They just roll it back and forth when they need it.
Probably not regulation, no, I mean.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't want regulation. I want just, I think more things for people to do down there.
I would think that would just invite more problem.
Fighting the tennis
Right.
people, the basketball people will win every time.
No, they won't. The tennis people have a net. They can club them. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go with no on that probably.
Nathan, I will nag you until I get something else down there to utilize that space.
What kind of fence are we talking about around that?
I don't know, ask Nathan, he's in charge of that
We're
one.
not talking about a 3-foot chain.
No, regulation basketball size.
So
I
it
believe
doesn't get
it's.
thrown out.
They're
12.
about 7-8 feet tall.
I think, I was thinking 12, but maybe 8 foot. They're fairly high.
Did you get some of those donated to you?
Yes, yeah, we got enough to do the, one side and the back, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, insurance, page 22. too much of a change on that.
We had about a 6% increase in property casualty, workers' comp with ties, and for those that, I guess we mentioned it last time, we also had a $90,000 claim last year
Yeah.
with the
Workman's
tower
comp.
It's just
coming
an
in.
estimate, we don't have our rates yet for next year.
Okay, yeah, I understand. That 90,000 was workman's comp?
No, the 90,000
it was
was
the tower.
the tower that fell.
No, yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, anything else on insurance? County tax, anybody's favorite? Page 33. Yeah.
Withhold the check again on that one, right?
Do we now have the numbers on that? I don't think we have it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That was.
Oh, no, I'm
was it?
sorry, I don't have it right here.
It's about the same, isn't it?
I thought this was just a
I think we sent
placeholder.
them out to you, didn't we?
You did.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was just about what you
It was about, yeah, it was 727.
We were relatively good news.
741,881, 741,881.
Creeping closer to $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might ask the question, I mean, obviously there's a population difference, but your county's fairly populous, and Penobscot County, I mean, you might ask the question, I wouldn't ask the question, but you might say, why does Cumberland County's county budget dwarf every other county's budget in an inordinate way beyond population? It's because all the services they provide, right?
Yeah, because they have no control of the jail.
So maybe Raymond, we had I guess in semi-in-jest a few years ago, we looked at the notion of maybe our outlook on government was more closely aligned with, say, Oxford County.
Especially
Yeah.
now that they have a casino.
Yeah, but so county government in
That's
Cumberland
okay.
is a different thing than county government in Oxford
dropped
or
20 bucks.
Washington or Knox or anywhere else. It's different.
Yeah, they know how to spend the money, that's for sure.
Yep.
All right, revenues, page 9.
Kathy, what's our undesignated fund balance? You just sent something out recently, it was like 2.8.
Yeah. Was it 2.8?
Wait a minute.
It was pretty high.
I remember 2.4, but
Yeah, it was 2.8,
Could be
letter I
wrong.
saw, yeah.
Right?
oh, it's back here. Oh, let's see. I know I did it. Unassigned general fund.
She did.
Yeah, it's 2.6, I'm sorry.
So halfway between the two.
2.6.
I
2.6.
thought I remembered 2.8, but.
2.8 is what, you guys asked for an estimate of what it would be at June of
That's what,
2018.
yeah.
Right.
And that is 2.8.
Okay.
That was my estimate.
So isn't that what we gotta be working on? That we're gonna have 2.8?
June 30th number. That's the June 30th estimate?
Right.
That's my estimate for June 30,
So
sure.
we'll say 2.8.
Mhm.
Last year, we had 200,000 taken out of that fund and put into this. Do we want to,
Last year was 270.
270.
Yeah.
It wasn't taken out of the 2.6, the 2.6 is after the 270.
Yeah.
The 2.6 million is after the 270.
I mean, our local rule was
15%.
15%, which is what, 1.85?
It was 1.8, yeah. And
1.9.
400 was up, we were over goal at the end of June of 2017. We were over goal like 400 and, I want to say,
Right.
almost 500.
Right.
And then I think it'll increase another 200, so.
I mean, I just don't like to have this huge savings account if that's taxpayer money,
right.
you know? I mean, we already have a buffer of the 15% rule. I think we have almost, 800,000 to play with.
We had AAA rating,
Right.
and the rating agency recommended so much in cash, and that was 15%. Is
Yeah.
that, so as long as
Well,
we're,
actually, it was we developed that rule as a select board, but the rating agency liked that rule. and
Okay.
Said, you know, if you could stick to that rule, you're in good shape, right, Don, if I remember?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
What gives you the AAA rating is to have the requisite financial policies and then to implement them effectively towards an end of fiscal security and surety. And so we have all that. The only caution I would have, if you're thinking about infusing the tax rate when it's already in a down position, is that you may artificially, depress that for a year or two, and then you're going to have an issue, after that time period if you don't see a steady growth in the surplus. What I've always said is use the surplus for major non-recurring capital expenditures, but I don't know if we really have anything to fill in there either, but
Well,
I mean some more world work or something like that possibly, although I think Nate's at the capacity of that, but.
Well, I think we're talking about plow trucks.
Right.
Yeah,
If you're
so
going to
So I
that,
think that's a good investment, not bonding them, but actually.
yeah, that's in
paying
that
back.
major capital area, absolutely.
But, we don't have the impact on the mill rate, it's the school. I mean, the school's 83% of our budget. So
Right.
our little piece here isn't gonna have a huge impact either way
You
on
understood
the
where
mill
I
rate.
was going. How are we gonna pay for these plow trucks?
Right.
Are we gonna take some out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can avoid bonding them,
Yeah.
Right.
then we keep some free board into other things for
And I think
downstream.
next year, we're losing some more bonds.
We've got one more bond that
One more
expires
bond.
next year, so.
Right.
I must be off tonight. I thought we were headed towards depressing the tax rate. I'm sorry. I was
No.
thinking too Raymond-like.
Depressing, is that what you're saying?
So,
You're
but
not,
yeah,
you're not
finally-
increasing it, so you're depressing it.
I mean, believe me, we haven't seen the school budget yet.
No.
Right.
And I'm not surprised if they come in at a 6% increase.
I was looking at,
least
if
five.
you look at they're on version 4, and last year they went up to 8 versions, so.
Wow.
And he had given us the rate, but we didn't get numbers until May
Yeah.
of last
We
year.
actually tried to get some numbers, and we
They're still doing budgets now, because they have another meeting tomorrow night, and they're still presenting budgets right now, is what it is, so I haven't seen
We
it.
only have 3.
Yeah, we did Don put in a call to, what's his name?
Don Davis.
Don Davis.
Yeah, but we
You
don't,
never heard back from him, did you?
we don't,
no.
it's not this budget, well, it's not next budget I'm worried about the following one when they, yeah.
Okay, we talked about parks and the TIF. Next one is Raymond Rec on 26. I don't think there's any issues there.
Well, I do have a question.
All right, go
All right,
ahead, go.
I'm sorry.
Go. Yep, don't be sorry.
Raymond Rattlers,
But that's on the next page, Dana.
okay. It's
26.
on the next page?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, let's go to that
Okay.
then. That's providers.
I thought it was part of rec.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
okay, because it's on
Yeah, I see what
both.
you're
Go ahead, Dana.
That's why.
Yep.
I thought he was, yeah.
Yeah, it's over here too, sorry.
No, I was,
Go, Dana.
All right. Do we have to give them anything if they don't have I mean, their club is, it's, to me, it's non-existent. The guy that was here last time doesn't even live in Raymond.
Okay, we're talking about Raymond Rec, not
Oh,
Raymond
oh,
Recreation.
Raymond Rec. Oh, no, I'm talking about the
Well,
Rattlers.
Raymond
Oh, the
Rattlers.
rat.
But it's part of Raymond Rec.
Right.
So it's Raymond Rec, there's a group called Raymond Rec, then there's Raymond Recreation. I think we're talking Raymond Recreation, right? Which is
Wait.
part of Rattler.
We're just talking
No.
about the budget portion of our budget that relates to
No,
recreation.
you have Raymond Rec, which is skiing, swimming, all the, basketball.
and then you have public services,
Then you got
recreation.
the baseball.
Public services,
Then you
recreation.
got
Yes.
Raymond
Baseball,
Rattlers, which is a snowmobile reimbursement.
Okay.
This is on page 47, Dana. Might be easier to read.
Well,
down
you
to
said
that.
26.
It's
I know.
on 26. Raymond Rattlers.
Yeah, but page 47 clears it up a little bit easier
All right.
to read.
Sorry about that, gentlemen and ladies.
You're right. It's broken out there. These are the agencies that are in the budget on page 47. Raymond Rattlers is in there, Raymond Rec is in there. Okay, does that make it easier, Dana?
Yeah, it does. I still
Okay.
have something to say about the
There you go.
Rattlers, so.
We're talking about Raymond Rattlers.
Yep,
Talking about Raymond Rattlers.
yep.
Yep, go
Can
ahead.
I go ahead?
Yeah, go.
I just, I haven't seen too much action from the Snowmobile Club this winter and last winter. There are trails in other towns that have been groomed. I haven't seen any groomed trails. There might be, but I usually see the trail by the ballpark that's groomed, and they usually groom down by the Tenny where I live, and I don't know where else they groom, but the pole line, I haven't really seen anything. I've ridden the trails, and I haven't seen one groomed trail this year, and they're asking for money, and I really don't know how strong that group is, their leadership, or how much commitment, the membership, how many paid members do they have that support the club. I know it's all volunteers, but they do collect dues if you're a member of the Rattlers, so I just can't see spending that money. I wish we could designate it to another cause, but I know we can't probably do that, but I just can't say we should fund the Raymond Rattlers with those funds.
It's my understanding that the money that we give the Raymond Rattlers it's a wash right through this town. It's not an expense on our part.
It doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
Are you saying that we should keep their
Yeah.
registration fees?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm liking you more all the time.
there was a warrant that was created last year specifically about this, but that was the first time that it was actually created as an official wash. Before, it was just an allocation. I mean,
No.
It's always been the registration
Yeah.
fees.
Right.
Always.
Always.
last year was the first time that there was a warrant that specifically said Raymond Rattlers.
Well, that's
we
because-
had-
Before
Yes.
it was,
That's good.
it was
That's
done
true.
by the group. I'm sorry?
Every year I've been on the board, they've had it.
That's
Yeah.
a separate line item.
They've had it for
Right.
40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Raymond Rattlers, they do have a Facebook page and they have quite a few members. And I know that there was an issue that I had to talk to a Raymond Rattler about. And he says that at their meeting, they were discussing things. So they do have meetings. There are members. As to the trails, I don't do
Do they have
snowmobiles.
minutes and stuff like that, or?
I know their March 6th meeting was canceled because the floors were being done, but, I mean,
Where do they meet?
their March 20th, their next meeting is 6:30, well, March 20th at Camp Pines.
Oh, Camp
Yeah.
Kokatosi?
Oh, Camp Hines now.
Okay.
So, and that was 3/20/2018, so they do have, and as far as they're following right now, they've got 242 people liking it and 250 people following it.
Are they all members, though? You can like something, but, if you don't.
I don't know,
I think the
You know.
membership kind of.
It comes and goes is what it is.
Depending on the winter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, do they get any money from the state? Joe, you would
No.
know that, no?
No, the money they get from the state is what comes through
Maine Snowmobile
The
Association.
the
registration.
registrations. That's the only money they get, is what comes through the registration comes back, that's what goes to them. They don't get a stipend.
And they probably
from
pay
SAM or anything like
Maine
that.
Snowmobile Association to be a member. So they're a recognized club.
The other thing that came up in here is due to the trail conditions and the warmer weather, because the trail, this was in February, they also have a lot of sponsors for their trails that they get from different people on here. So this is just checking out their Facebook. So if they have this many, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like 20 sponsors for different trails, they've got to have some kind of a good
I
following
haven't seen
then.
any grooming, and I ride the trails a lot, so.
The only reason that warrant article was added to the warrant was I found at a clerk's meeting to go over what should be a warrant, that was neglected over the years. So it was just an oversight that we've been doing that, but we just had never put that officially in the warrant.
Yeah, but we keep giving them money every year, and we never hold them accountable. We don't get any feedback from the community members, and I'm here representing the trail riders.
I don't think we have, I don't think
You
we've
know?
ever heard anything bad or anything on it. Have we? Nobody's ever come. I mean, they come and they ask. One year they didn't come and ask, and we didn't give them as much money but then we said people need to come that's on this agency to be able to
Well,
report.
they didn't give us their financials either.
Did we ask them for the financials?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
They gave it to us.
Yeah, this year?
Yeah.
Well, we have a one page that gives their revenue. It's not
Yeah.
really a set of
Yeah,
financials.
it's.
We have no
yeah,
idea what their current balance is. We have no idea what their expenses are.
Exactly.
We have no understanding of what, out of their $9,840 budget, where they get the rest of the money. Larry indicated that it was donations. I'd really like to understand a little bit more about this in the future.
And I think we should ask that from them next time.
It was an ask that I had of every volunteer group coming, that they give us full financials.
Any idea whether that's a 501c3, and if it is, you can find it on the website.
I'll look, I have no idea.
Probably is.
You can find the tax returns up there. Okay, that takes care of that one. I want to go to page 80. And these are the agency requests that we have not included in the budget. And the one suggestion tonight would be to take Southern Maine Agency on Aging and bring that back into the budget for $1,000.
Can I make a comment on that? Just some words.
Comment away.
All right. Just, I read their stuff, and as you said, we're getting older. If you look at what they've done, they provided quite a lot of food, a lot of things that, when I look at that, one is, if they didn't do it, you're probably going to get some requests from general assistance, perhaps, in the future as our aging population grows. But also, whenever you do Medicare, some of you are much too young for that, but when you do Medicare and some of the other things, it's complicated to go through what you have to do with some of these application processes. And I think the fact that they help people with that, especially if they don't have family in the area. If you have family, then it's okay. But I would agree, and I know Brian brought this up before, but I think that's a worthy cause for $1,000 that maybe we shouldn't give to somebody else.
You do know they get federal funding and state
Yes.
funding to do this?
A lot of their services are not free.
They pay their executive director probably $200,000 a year.
Right.
They own $1 million building in Portland.
Seriously?
Yes,
Scarborough.
So they're,
Scarborough.
so they're another
All
United Way?
because, yeah,
Yeah.
they get federal and state funding.
Right.
And this is their mission. Plus, they do other things that they have contracts with the state on that they receive funding for. They're not some just benevolent, we live off a shoestring.
No.
So,
If that's the case, then can I take my $1,000 back? It's because people were so frustrated with the whole United Way thing, because the whole type of thing with the high salaries, the money wasn't going to it, so that.
there are 7 agency on aging in the state of Maine. And SMAA is the biggest one
And the most wealthy.
and the most wealthy,
I'm gonna
by
say shut
far.
up to the rest of the meeting.
Well, thanks for that enlightenment. I'm
Yeah,
outraged.
I didn't know that either.
You should be. Should be.
I didn't know that.
I learned so much on this committee.
There's a lot of eyewash in their presentation, if I can say that.
Okay.
My mother died in 19.
Okay.
Seriously.
Moving right along.
May I?
Moving right along. Yes, Brian, you bet.
I'll check and make sure that the figures that we have are accurate in terms of their compensation on the executive director. What I would say is that regardless of what the executive director is paid, I would hope that we would at least look at the kinds of services that they provide to the residents of Raymond. I recognize also that those federal dollars that they get should be helping to fund, but right now, as I understand it, there are actually more people wanting to have Meals on Wheels than they have the ability to currently fund. I think that the services that they provide to the people of Raymond, and I especially think the Meals on Wheels, which, to the point that Brian was making before, a lot of those people, even if they had capabilities, they wouldn't be able to get out to get the food and the services. The Meals on Wheels is where food is delivered to the folks. We're paying on their basis of the number of people and the information that we received on the number of people that receive services from the town of Raymond, about $10 per time.
Yeah, $10 a person.
That they provide services to people in Raymond. And not to say that all the towns around us have it right and we have it wrong, but you have a lot of towns that are seeing value in what they do. And so I, again, kind of reassert the value that they provide, and the request that they're making is a relatively modest one, and I'll look in to make sure that we have accurate numbers on compensation. Thank you.
Anything else on this one? Anything else on provider agencies that we do not have in the budget, like GP cog? We've decided to come out of GP cog this year.
Yeah, we're
Okay. Public Works, page 22.
Hope so. I'm done plowing.
Get on vacations.
Just taking this in parts, Nathan, just the operating budget at this point, which is on 22. I don't think there's any big
Yeah, there's
issues
nothing-
there at all.
No. Diesel and fuel was an estimated increase.
Yeah.
Utilities was to meet actual, what we're doing, and P&K is final year of the 3-year contract, and the road salt I was bumping up by 200 ton
Okay.
to increase.
Real good, Dana?
P&K's contract
Yes.
for this year. What's the total amount?
Total amount's
84 something.
184, I think it is, for this year. we're in
That's
right.
just this year.
Just this year.
The year we're in or the next year?
It's
Just
184.
this year that
I'm
we're
sorry,
in?
this
Or
year.
is that the whole contract? I mean,
No, that's per year.
per year?
Per year. I believe the contract right now is budgeted at 179,200. Next year, it goes up in their contract to 184.
Now, what's that calculate per mile?
It's $56 a mile, $54 a mile, something like that?
Yeah.
I don't have the contract here, Dana, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought I
all
had
right.
everything I was
That's
gonna be
all
able to
right.
answer for you, but
No, that's fine. I just, I think that's a little on the high side, but, then again, the alternate is you going out and increasing the size of your department. Do you really want to do that? And deal with the Teamsters Union?
we're not gonna
That's
have a
where it's
Teamsters
gonna
union. No, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe it.
Oh, yeah. It's
I-
coming, Nate.
I don't believe it's coming. I hope it's not coming.
Well,
Our
I'm just giving you a heads up, all right?
Our in-house per mile cost is considerably lower than that. And we're, right now, even under the contract, we're out of the 3 towns right next to us at contract, we're still the lowest per mile rate.
That's still a lot of money, though.
Oh, absolutely.
For a winter, and they don't supply the sand
Nope.
anymore,
4 trucks and a
Yeah.
pickup. That's what we get out of Minneloader.
and and those guys are probably part-time right now, right?
No, they keep, I think we've got one driver here that's part-time. They don't actually, the one driver that's part-time doesn't work for them in the summer.
Yeah.
He plows, he just works for the plowing side of it in the winter.
Because they don't have much going right now, so,
They're pretty busy. I've been waiting 3 weeks for them on Valley Road.
yeah,
They are there. I don't know the ins and outs of their
Yeah.
business. I don't ask.
yeah. I like the service they give us. It was a great deal when they supplied us with the sand.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, we made this contract and.
They gave us a sand back. They didn't want
Well,
to do it
yeah,
anymore.
but you gotta learn how to.
And they were, the first year that they.
It's all the art of the deal,
Well, the first year, we didn't have a choice. It was either take the sand back or they're not gonna sign the contract. And they did the same thing in Naples. And that first year we did that, so we budgeted $10 a yard for sand. And I dumped in my lap. I had no option but to hire them to put the sand
Well,
on.
yeah, but they put a gun to your head.
Well, yeah, I didn't have a choice. What was I
Yeah.
gonna do? It was either we'll sign the contract if you take the sand, or we're not gonna sign the contract. And you really don't have a choice at that point.
Are they doing Naples?
Yes, they plow Naples too.
Yeah. Chris Pond does
Casco. Yeah.
How many miles in Naples, do you know?
We're almost mirrored about the same. I'm not sure on the exact mileage, but Casco, Naples, and Raymond, they're almost the same within 4, 5, 6 miles either side of that.
I want to look at what the other towns are spending.
It was in the paper. It was in the paper.
Yeah, Casco's
Yeah.
363.
3 and
Naples 180.
180, 190. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
Naples is
190.
more.
Yeah, but they don't have a public works department.
No, the Naples does.
Casco doesn't.
Does it?
Right, Naples does.
Naples doesn't have the cat.
Yeah, they got 2 guys who plow. They picked up all their municipal
They got a
buildings.
two-man show now?
Yeah, have for 3 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they pull weeds out in the summer?
I don't know what they do in this. Well, they do a lot of sign and
Because
tree
they don't
work.
have any equipment.
Yeah, they got a couple pickups. They don't have any backhoes or anything like that.
There's a really good article on, did you see the one on Nathan? It shows the different towns and stuff like that as far as mileage and what their costs and stuff like that. It's, yeah.
Yeah. What's the average per mile statewide if you contract it out? I mean,
They're in the $6,000, $5,000 to $6,000 a mile. We're the
Yeah.
lowest that I know of around.
that includes sand?
Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
Pretty common is the towns have to supply the sand salt. That is pretty common. A lot of towns are they're charged by the hour for sanding, different rate for plowing.
Yeah. All right.
We could go sanding, get a little
all
grass
set.
feeder out there.
Thank
That'd
you,
take our
Nate.
time
You're welcome.
Anything else on the operating budget?
per hour.
Hey, pay attention. Anything else on the operating budget?
No.
Capital improvement.
In my capital improvement, I'm asking for a used front-end loader and another $550 to replace the 3/4 ton truck, the 03 3/4 ton. Both of those are going to be a one-time expense, so it's going to bump the CIP up quite a bit. It's by $120,000 for those two items. The used loader, I'm not sure. We targeted $60,000 on it. I'm pretty confident we're going to come in quite a bit cheaper than that.
Pages is
The $550 is going to be about 60 grand time it's on the road and set up.
He doesn't like his new truck.
What can you use that front end loader for, other than loading your trucks with sand?
Winter sand and some summer operations take a little weight off the backhoe,
Yeah,
so we don't have to
'cause
replace the backhoe.
Front end loaders don't do much work in the summer.
Not much in the summer, no,
No.
they don't.
No.
That's why I didn't.
It's like an excavator in the winter.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, and we got one of them too.
No, we don't. That's Rodney Knight's machine. We rent it by the hour off the clock.
Huh?
No, it's not 35.
Rodney bought that, huh?
Yep, yep,
I'm glad we're still using Rodney.
yep, me too.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a very good deal for the town.
He's been good to us.
Yep.
Anything else on CIP? Okay, last one. Yes, sir.
On the paving roads, Nathan?
Yeah.
You got 245 in the CIP, and you got 75 more? So you're gonna
Correct.
have 320?
320, that is correct.
How many miles is that gonna get
Off
done?
the top of my head, I wouldn't dare even say.
All right.
We don't have any pricing on asphalt yet this year.
Okay.
We're targeted to do about 2.5 miles this year, Brown Road, overlay on Patricia, and Old Canal Road.
So a complete rebuild on Brown?
Complete rebuild on Brown. We did the rebuild on Patricia, so we only have to
Right.
do the surface on Patricia this year.
Okay,
And we've got a complete rebuild on Canal.
okay.
Was there an issue about connecting the Gore Road?
The
Yeah.
dead man zone, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Nathan's still
Yeah.
checking into
We're not
that.
we're gonna still check it.
that's still a selectman thing
Sorry.
we haven't dealt with yet.
No.
Okay, now you wanna buy some snow plows.
That's,
This
I
is
need
a
some direction on this, what
This
we're
is a
gonna do.
separate document,
Yeah.
everybody should have received.
We're still under contract with P&K for one more season on plowing. There's a couple options there. One was we take back a couple miles, but that's all tied in with the mechanic. A lot of this stuff is all tied in together. You hire the mechanic, I need to grab some more plowing to offset the cost of the mechanic, which is gonna be purchased in the truck. If you don't do the mechanic, and you don't buy the 550, we're not gonna do any more plowing. And I don't mean that to sound the way it sounds, it's just, it's impossible to do.
Any additional plowing?
Yeah, if we hire a mechanic, I'm gonna grab about 6.5 miles of plowing. That's gonna offset some of the cost of the mechanic. But to do that, I need to upgrade one of the small trucks to something that we can use. If you go into full-out plowing, it's kind of laid out here how you do it. You're not, I wouldn't recommend doing it all brand-new trucks. I'd buy a couple of new ones to start off with and a couple of used ones. Develop a CIP replacement schedule for those trucks. Run them out 10, 12 years, see what they do. I wouldn't do it this coming winter. I would do it after the contract's done. We've got one more full winter with P&K. I would develop a plan. We'll implement it in the end of the contract.
So you wouldn't buy your trucks until?
You'd want to start buying them right now. It takes about 8 to 10 months to get a truck, depending on the workload of the time you order the truck, gets to the body company and back to us. It's about 8 to 10 months. Okay. So I would say, yeah, you might want to start looking at that into this coming year. The used ones, you want to grab them when you see them.
So is the plan to phase out P&K? Or just say at the end of 2019, or whatever year it is, 2020, you're all done?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, with the conversations that I've had with them, I think you would see a considerable increase per mile if we phased them out, because they're looking to make X amount of dollars a year off of it. And that's still a possibility. I really kind of stopped conversation with them until we decided I needed some information from you guys. I don't want to go over there and start talking about doing plowing and have them say, we're all done. And then come back over here and have you guys say, well, we're not going to buy any trucks. And then I'm going to be out there with a shovel. And I'm not real interested in that. So
Exercise is good for you, Nate.
yeah, not that much.
Put a plow on his Harley.
Yeah. So I would recommend if they would do it is to phase it in over a couple of years. Maybe at the end of this year's this contract, you take back 2 plow routes for 2 or 3 years, and then at the end of that, you phase them out.
Would you have 2 new trucks to take over 6 more miles or whatever?
No, I only need, actually, to take over the 6 miles, we're gonna shuffle trucks around a little bit. If we take over the 6 miles in this contract, that'll be a temporary setup till the new contract, and I'll be back to ask to replace that route truck with another wheeler. We're gonna buy the 550, and that's gonna pick up the developments that truck is doing right now and the developments on the second route that they're picking up.
So does P&K lower their contract price?
A little bit, yes. I asked for 35,000, they came back the first initial with 20. So I gotta go back and sharpen up a little bit on that. That's not enough to do it.
Don, did I see your hand up first?
He's totally.
Well, I guess so, so I want to make sure that I'm clear as well.
Okay.
I haven't been 100% here tonight, but, so I think what we're talking about, Nathan, would be to, get the mechanic on board, get the
Yes.
550, pick up the 6.5 miles, and then over the next year or so, look at getting a couple of used trucks as they come available.
Yeah.
And at some point, timed perfectly, get those new trucks, get them set up so they'd be ready to go when we execute the new lower contract that over maybe a couple of years would phase us into this and them out?
Correct.
Is that it, basically?
Yeah, that's basically it. I don't think it's going to be any surprise for anybody because I believe that we should have a plan in place. If we're going to phase them out, we should have a plan in place that works for both parties.
And be honest all the way through.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And if that's the route we're going to go, then I'm going to go back to them and negotiate for this next season, so they don't have to buy a truck. They have to replace a truck for next season to fulfill their contract right now. And I don't want to go ask them, or I would feel bad to have them go replace that truck and have us just take over the plow at the end of the contract, because they're going to try to amortize that truck out over the next contract or however that works.
What are they doing in Naples? They use a totally different crew, different trucks?
Yep.
Probably newer trucks since they're based in Naples?
Yeah, I would guess yes. I haven't seen anything new over here for a while.
All right.
Or newer over here for a while.
Teresa?
I think too, also bringing on that mechanic is you have that extra person that can do plowing, but you've also got a person that's gonna be, we're not sending out, PMs and we're doing more work in-house that you had already said, what is the cost for the garage, for our garage compared to something else? It's a big difference.
Yes, you're gonna save money. You're gonna, You're gonna have initial setup costs, obviously, because you're adding an employee. But in the long run, you're gonna see a savings with PM services. We're gonna get a little bit more work done, because I'm hopefully gonna be able to hire somebody who's gonna be willing to go out and work on the crew and wherever we need them.
So we've got the mechanic that's keeping between the public safety, public works, and I know you do work for Tasseltop with their trucks too, that if we got a guy that's putting everything on a maintenance plan, and then we can keep up with it instead of, I guess sometimes I feel like we're putting out fires, like in the middle of snowstorms, and Nathan gets pulled off the road, and so what,
Reactive maintenance, right.
you know, so I mean, so this way where, yeah.
Can we just look at these as a separate issue?
Yes. Yep.
Hiring of the mechanic, that to me is a separate issue. That's not contingent upon anything else. So that,
Well,
It
it
is,
is.
yeah.
It is. If we don't hire the mechanic, I'm not gonna take on any more plowing.
Yeah.
That's just, we're right on that balancing point right now. And I need that position, if you create the mechanic's position, I need the plowing. So if we don't do any of this, stay status quo, nothing moves, we stop. That's
okay, so
where
now
we're
we take a mechanic and we add 6 miles worth of plowing with equipment that we're going to upgrade and not buy new equipment.
We hire the mechanic, we're gonna buy an F-550, that's gonna be his plow truck.
Fine.
And we're gonna buy the front end
So
loader.
that can be treated as a standalone
Correct.
issue. And now we deal with the plowing equipment
Okay, yes.
separately, is that?
Yeah. So if
That
you,
makes more
if you,
sense.
if you went with a mechanic, and this plan that I've laid out here with the mechanic, the 550, and we just took back 6 miles of plowing, and then we renegotiated the contract next year, that's another plan you could do. So that would leave us with 3 contracted trucks from P&K and 4 of ours.
The other thing I want to mention, these are 10-wheel trucks. They're using tri-axles over there,
No,
aren't they?
the plow trucks are all wheelers.
They're all
Six-
10,
yeah.
all 10-wheelers, okay.
The only single axle truck we have out here is the
No,
one
not
on
tri-axles.
121.
I thought they were using bigger trucks.
No, a single axle. Triaxle, the wheelers are hard enough to get around with. The triaxle, just multiply that to a bigger problem.
Okay. So what would be the impact of the budget for a mechanic and a truck?
We figured 60 to 70 grand
Just-
per year for the mechanic.
And that includes health
then-
insurance and
That's loaded.
taxes.
That's everything.
70 for the mechanic, we got, and then your truck is how much?
60, I believe it's gonna come in at.
But that's a CIP item.
That's a CIP item,
It's already there.
yeah.
So the only thing you're adding to the operating
Right,
budget
is
is
the
the
seven- is the 70,000.
That's your ongoing.
Right, okay. So now we're putting in 60 into a truck, into the CIP.
Correct.
And now we're gonna talk about 4 additional trucks for plowing. Okay, all right, now I can see it clearly. Thank you.
So if you don't get the mechanic, you don't need the 550.
Oh, we're gonna have to upgrade that truck's on the end of its life, but I don't think if we didn't do the plowing, I don't know as though I'd have to buy another 550. I would probably look for more like an F-350 or another pickup. And the surplus stuff's been all right.
Well, the state's keeping their stuff
Yeah,
longer.
so I think it's time to upgrade that stuff to newer stuff, to new. There's a lot of options, but if we do the plowing, you really ought to go to the 550. That way, it's a heavier truck. It's an all-around better truck.
Well, the thing is, Nate, when you get a truck and you buy it used, you only get a certain amount of,
Correct.
Yeah. warranty.
Zero.
But zero from the state to zero.
Yeah,
We've been
I mean-
very, very lucky with the surplus stuff. We've had a couple of bad eggs, but for the most part, we've done fairly well.
So, if I were making the decision all by myself, I would get a new truck and get rid of it in 5 years.
Yep.
Well,
Gone.
Yeah, that's a plan that
Boom, boom.
we've done with Scott's pickup in mind, is
Yeah.
we're looking at a
So it's,
five-year rotation.
you get the warranty on it.
Yep.
And once the warranty's gone, out the
Ship
door
it.
she goes.
Yep.
Give it to another
That's
town.
that's exactly how the, suburban Portland and, more well-financed public works departments do it. But you gotta remember where we started, and you look at where we're at now. We've made good use of used equipment surplus. We, because of Nathan's extraordinary good care, despite not having a mechanic, we get an extra long amount of time out of our town trucks. We're moving forward in that direction. We're not there. I mean, it's a big jump. But the benefit of such a program is if you keep them 5 years and take good care of them, and you buy them at municipal rates, and then you sell them at private sale rates, so it can actually make some economic sense. However, it probably won't beat what we're doing now in terms of if you're looking for the absolute lowest cost. But you're not wrong. I mean, it's just, when it's not there yet, we're not that evolved yet.
Well, it doesn't take much damage or,
One repair.
transmission, I mean.
Yeah, transmission's
A
about
rear end
$3,500 now.
Yeah.
So you're
Right,
fine.
and large trucks, sure, but we've been buying trucks, and then using them for several years, and in many instances, selling them for more than we paid for them. So, I mean, it's hard to beat that one, too.
Well, that's good.
Kathy, vehicles that depreciated out over 5 years?
A lot of towns do it that way, yeah.
I would say, looking at, it depends on if it's new or used.
Let's say a brand-new 10-axle,
Oh, you're talking major.
A finance or?
no, depreciated. How do you-
I would say between 5 and 10.
Okay.
I would look to
Most
Nathan to
most
say.
towns are, they're running about 10, and they're getting rid of them, and if they've got one that's been pretty decent, they'll stretch it out a little further. We're on what, 12 with the 06, and that's starting to give us some problems.
Yeah, but that's life use. Okay, all right.
But light trucks about 5 years, heavy trucks for a suburban town, 10 to 12 years, yeah.
But the municipalities benefit by section 179 and write it off immediately?
It doesn't matter.
Well,
because
you can
we
double
don't-
dip on
Yeah.
depreciation, all that stuff too, but
No, we don't have,
it's just a straight line.
we
all-
use whatever we want, actually.
Yeah, but you're straight
There
line.
there
We
must be
do.
an IRS table that tells you.
Oh, the life of them?
Well, the
Oh, for writing it off, like
the
for,
depreciation.
Yeah, some of the
I know
digits or
my
something.
stuff is
Yeah, but we
5
don't-
years is what they do in my account.
Yeah.
We don't really have, it doesn't really come into play in
Right.
terms of surplus, because that's the whole different set of financial statements that actually uses depreciation.
Yeah, you don't really pay taxes, so 179 wouldn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. Well, actually, we are sort of, because when we buy it, we expense it all.
Okay.
So, if we're looking at buying some equipment, are we looking at using surplus to buy that to minimize the impact in the first 2 years?
Can I back up before we get into that question, because I think we're all going there. The 880 that you have quoted here, that's for 4 trucks.
That's for 4 brand-new trucks, that's
Yeah.
worst
And then-
case scenario.
And then to that, we add the cost of 4 employees.
I would still advocate that we do it with part-time help on the larger side of it.
Okay.
I think it can be done, you gotta work at it, but
I'm trying to get a hold of the total cost here. So we've got equipment, we've got personnel.
I did it with the personnel with being all part-time. That's the way I did it for the
Yep.
4 adding on.
For the plowing, you mean?
Correct, yeah, hire them by the hour for plowing time.
Just for
and
the,
that-
for the
correct.
season.
No, just for the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
Personal.
yeah,
Personal.
actually, there's been a few people that have come forward in town here that are interested in doing it. They're contractors that aren't doing
Okay.
anything when it snows anyway.
So that's not a big budget busters.
Well, I don't think so. If you go on the average, you're looking at 35 grand just for the labor.
Okay.
If you went full-time, I did do the full-time, would be 252,000. So that's why I think I'd advocate for the part-time and try it that way.
What would you use full-time for? Full-time year-round?
The full-time guys are the guys that we've got right now employed right now. I'd leave that alone.
So that's not an increase to payroll?
Correct.
Okay.
The only increase would be the 35 if you were part-time.
That brings us back to Rolf's question now. Thank you.
I mean, if we're looking at a phased-in approach, and your purchase cycle on a new vehicle is 10 months, you almost have to look at it and say, okay, are you gonna pick one this year and then allocate for some used as they come available?
That's what I would do.
So you'd be looking at 220 in the 220 for new, and if you allocated a, 100,000 for used in this budget, you're looking at, that's 330. If we did that out of surplus, we're not impacting the budget per se.
Nor the surplus account, basically.
Right.
I would say you go for at least 3.
3 what, trucks?
2 used, 1 new?
on the theory that P and K is gonna say.
Especially as they're watching this too. Yeah, that's what I'm
Gotcha.
worried about. Yeah, so
don't
the
know
meanwhile,
what-
they're like, why should they sit back and wait for us to make the move when then they're gonna say, wait a second, I'm gonna take the move, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So call it 350.
Well, I'm
Because you're-
thinking more
because
like
you're gonna-
500.
Yeah,
but-
because I mean, because you're gonna have some, if you bring in a used one, you're gonna have some unexpected costs.
Unfortunately, the value of the bigger trucks is bad when they get, you can buy a decent plow truck for about 50 grand, a really good one.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is now, what's the equipment on there? You've got some additional costs that you.
Turnkey go.
Well, we would look for a well-kept, truck from one of the towns, like Dana indicates, that turns them on a regular schedule, not because they're worn out or decrepit in any way, but because that's how they do it. So we would look for a well-kept municipal truck with complete records, and it would become more likely than not completely equipped and ready to go.
New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, they're on a 5 to 8 year rotation on their big stuff, and the results from the auctions that I've been seeing have been around 50,000 for a wheel.
Cool.
There's a lot of stuff in New Hampshire,
There's a ton of
noticed.
stuff.
We subscribe to a number of those
Look at
auction
taking 400 and taking it out of there.
lists,
I think
and
that's
there's lots
probably
to pick from.
If we looked at and took 400 out of there,
Because it's not,
as
yeah, it's not affecting it.
For equipment.
yeah, the labor side, we picked that up in the regular
operating
budget.
Now, how's that labor gonna work, Nathan, if you get part-time, if you get, like, you mentioned contractors? I mean, how would that work? I mean, per storm, I mean, would they?
You call them up, it's gonna snow tomorrow, and they show up and plow, and when they're done, they go home.
So they're independent contractors or part-time employees?
I think they're part-time employees,
So then you have to pay them on an hourly basis?
Correct, you pay them by the hour, and
Yeah.
they're through payroll.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pay, they're gonna pay in taxes and whatnot.
So they get a W-2 at the end of the year
Correct,
versus a 1099?
Correct.
But would they be paid 40 hours regardless? No?
No, that's not the way I would set it up.
So they wouldn't get any benefits then?
No, no,
Other than workman's comp or?
while they're here, correct.
While they're here.
You're not gonna get those guys at $12 an hour.
I don't think
No,
so either.
25,
And I
25.
really don't see P and K giving up a lucrative deal like they have now. I mean, how can you walk away from a deal like that?
They don't
Well,
want
I
to do
don't
it.
think-
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
They don't want
they've got equipment that's on the downside, and
Yeah.
they've got to look at either,
Yeah.
they've either got to look at it one of two ways. Either they want to lock in a longer term contract thing so they can go out and buy new equipment, or they want to say, okay, we don't have to buy any new equipment.
They haven't bought new equipment to
Well,
plow
I
our roads,
understand that,
Ralph,
but-
in a lot of years.
But, I mean, look at
there's
what-
baler
look at-
wire on those trucks
That's
holding
what I'm
them
saying.
together.
Look at the stuff that's running on the
you know,
roads now.
It's just like they've got a hell of a deal going on, and I don't know why they would want to walk away from this for the amount of.
Those trucks are going to fail.
Yeah, well, they're gonna fail, but they've got nothing to lose. You know, those trucks are, you know.
Anything else on this one? Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along to infrastructure, which I think is streetlights, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's in the TIF
Okay.
now.
There's nothing else then on that one. Solid waste, page 23.
Yeah, we just increased the tipping based on what our tonnage was for the calendar year 17, and the extension on the contract says max is 2% or CPI, whichever's lower. So we budgeted it at 2%
Okay.
increase.
Anything on solid waste? Anything on cemeteries? Page 25.
Is this where you have that cleaning thing?
Right.
And you're the one that sent around what you found as far as veterans?
No, she's.
No,
You did?
Sue sent it
Okay.
out.
It's coming back.
It's all her fault. I just thought it was unusual that the town takes the responsibility of cleaning stones. And believe me, I'm all for clean cemeteries, but I don't think too many other towns do that because they're privately owned technically, so. But after time goes by, there's no family to take care of them, so. Anything else on cemeteries? Yes, Brian?
The only comment I had was that I wonder if we are providing certain resources to the veterans group. I'm wondering if we could ask them about their potential for volunteering to do some of the cleaning of the veterans cemeteries, not in exchange for the flags that we provide, but just as part of their. I would think that they might be very interested in doing that and maybe explore that approach. And I also know that we've talked about trying to rejuvenate the cemetery committee. I don't know if that's possible in today's day and age, but it does seem like an appropriate thing for a group to do, and might, with a task like that, might be very focused on and willing to do it.
Are you volunteering, Brian?
You know what, I was actually thinking about it, and I was going to say, I'm not going to volunteer to be on it, but I will volunteer to put in 2 days of my time, should there be a group that's formed.
Life in it.
I don't have any personal knowledge of the local veterans groups, but I can tell you from my experience that the ones I have had contact with over the years, they would make the fire department look like a bunch of whippersnappers. These are older guys. I don't see them, for the most part, cleaning stones. Am I right?
There's still some people that do it, but they're few and far apart.
They'd be older guys, and they've kind of done their thing, their service to the country, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
It's an idea.
if there's a group that forms, I'll put in 2 days.
Technology, page 18.
Why are we jumping around? Why are we jumping around so much?
I don't think we had any issues on technology this year. About the same. Anything on technology?
Keep going on.
Okay. We're getting to the end here. It's 16, page 16, Town Hall. I'm sorry. Help me out here. 17, sorry. Page 17, Town Hall.
Oh, what? Renovation work? Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, the tower is the bathrooms rework, meaning restoration work, yeah. So the tower is down. That came down very, very nicely, right on top of the building.
Conveniently.
So now the building's repaired, the wall in the bathroom's repaired. Yeah, so that part's done. We were trying to figure out, I think I mentioned last meeting, we were trying to figure out how to get that tower down cost effectively because we couldn't find anybody with insurance enough to do it to satisfy the town and at a price we liked. So the tower came down even after the repairs to the to the bathroom and the roof were way money ahead. The Raymond Way.
What about the wire from the telephone pole to the building, that stroping?
That bothers me so much. How many times do I mention that to you, Nathan?
The flagpole, I'm gonna send a couple Marines out and
both of those
against that flagpole like Iwo Jima.
Both of those really bother me.
Yeah, it's every day. It's painful, but it's
So
every day.
tell them and see if they buy your story.
Well, it pulled the anchor out of the corner of the building, and we needed to get up into the attic of the old building to fix that. And then we discovered that we really couldn't fit up through the hole, so we did some modifications. We can now. So we ran out of time and it snowed. That's basically what happened.
Can you just publicly admit it though?
Yeah, it was painful.
Now, couldn't they set a pole right next to the building and make it easier?
I was worried about that. They talked about that, but I was worried.
I know people who work for a telephone company, you know?
We talked about that, but the foundation, it's really sandy there, and it seemed a lot easier just to do what we did than it snowed. So they're coming here pretty soon to do that. And we're gonna do the flagpole at the same time, just as soon as the ground thaws out, we'll stand that back up.
So I don't have to get the Marines to come
No,
hold
no,
the flagpole
we'll
up?
be all right.
All right.
Okay.
But those things haven't, surprisingly, Dana, that hasn't escaped us, or me. Bothers me every day.
Well, it's sort of like the
Bothers me every
dugout.
day.
It's sort of like the dugout at the ballpark, you know, and the baseball season's starting pretty quick here, so.
There was another snowstorm problem. We've actually got a Boy Scout group that wants to redo that.
Good.
We got a fair amount of money for that from the insurance company.
Good.
And I told the baseball guys that we would supply the money if they want to supply the labor. We were gonna try to stand that one back up, and we may still have to do it to get games started. I think we can.
Over a dugout.
Oh, the wind took it.
Wind stood it right up.
October storm.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to take a tree right
Sucked it right out of the, sucked it right out of the ground. It was kind of
You'd have seen what
intense.
happened to the kids in it, Paul.
Put air vents in there in the back. Okay,
Animal control.
animal control, page 21. Shouldn't be anything there. Yes, go.
Roosters, you want a rooster? That would go.
So we're paying $214 per cat, dog, rabbit, or other either intaked or outcome. So just, let's put things in perspective in terms of the aging, right, the group. $10 per interaction. For people, and we're paying, whatever I just said. $214.68.
I don't have any pets, so.
We should send the animals down to Southern Maine
So it cost
Agency.
me zero.
Every time everything's goes.
And as long as I have the floor, sir, if I can do one
Keep
other
going,
thing?
keep
I just want to fix the record around, regarding the Southern Maine Agency on Aging. The CEO, Lawrence Gross, is paid $120,598, which is 1.8% of the revenue of the organization as of fiscal year ending September 2016.
That doesn't include his retirement and
Right.
his benefits.
Right,
Take a
and
look at that.
insurances and vacation time and,
He
Well,
probably
I
gets
don't-
30 or 40,000 in retirement
Yep.
benefits.
Okay. I'm telling you what the Form 990 says.
Yep.
Which is what's usually generally used for these kinds of things.
right.
And I wanted that to be clear. I don't know about their building, I can't find that information. Thank you.
Okay, general assistance.
What page?
Page
29, general assistance.
You're gonna eat at 9 o'clock at night?
Yes.
That's not good for you.
Did we run a deficit last year on this?
General assistance?
Yes.
I think this year we will, yeah. And we did last year too, the year
Okay.
before.
So that's why we're increasing this. How many people do we have on general assistance so I can get a per capita number?
Oh, I don't know.
It's difficult to project how many people you're gonna have on general assistance. What we're seeing is an increase in rental requests versus utilities, and that's a significant difference and
Yeah.
problem.
That's a lot of money in one chunk, yeah.
And rents are not
every month.
not widely available in Raymond, and they're not inexpensive. But of course, that's all tracked by the state or by the MMA rather, and
We do get a
And adjusted.
70% reimbursement rate
I know,
for our
yep.
GAs.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you see something, when you see the rental requests increase, that's generally not good news compared to the utilities that we normally have seen.
Anything else on general assistance? Debt service, page 34. Not too much we can do about that.
Those two do the bigger.
Okay, and I put CEIP on the bottom, but we've covered it, so I think we're all set with budgetary items. I'll throw it out for a budget committee comment. Any comments from the budget committee? Yes, ma'am.
I guess, this aging thing that Brian brought to us, I think we should give $1,000 to. And if anything, I can't see giving $1,000 to the Hawthorne House, where they didn't even use the $1,000 from us last year. The guy came and he talked to us, and I asked him where the money had gone last year, and he said, well, they hadn't used it. So, I just can't, I'd rather see the $1,000 go to the aging instead of the Hawthorne House.
I think they have a savings too of 3,700 is what the Hawthorne House, I think, showed on their paperwork too.
I just have a problem with it.
Just keep in mind that to paint that place, which is what they're really building
Right.
towards,
You said they had to do
is
it in
about
sections.
$8,000.
Yeah, they had it done several years ago by the Maine Correctional.
Right.
It's getting harder to get them in.
Yeah, well,
What you pay for there, too.
yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, I totally agree there with you,
Well-
The
Marshall.
reason why they call it Department of Corrections.
Yeah, right.
Well, it depends. Depends.
Sometimes you get a good job, and,
Sometimes they have painters on board, sometimes they have roofers, sometimes
Yeah.
they have neither.
well,
But they
sometimes
still
they have a
do it.
good supervisor, too.
Well, I think I'd rather see the elderly get fed than a
That's right, too.
house
Yeah.
get
That's right,
painted.
too. That's right.
That's
No.
all.
Oh, yeah.
They
All
have a
right.
good supervisor.
Any other comments from the finance committee? Selectmen, any comments there? Yes?
Not on the budget,
No,
just,
good.
everybody just to start paying attention to the school budget, please.
Yeah. That could really bite us, I think.
The meeting and, yeah, and let other people know to keep watching out, please.
Public comment, Mrs. Goslin? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.